Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365, 4 days after the Philadelphia Eagles became Super Bowl champions for the second time in franchise history. We're here with you on Birds 365 to give you all the updates, the breakdowns. Johnny Mac, how you doing in this Thursday morning, brother?
I'm doing well. Happy clean out day. The Eagles are finally cleaning out.
There you go.
So that'll be later this afternoon, and we're off into the off-season officially, although you have a parade to deal with on Friday. So
yep.
Good luck to everybody trying to get down there.
I might be going down to there. I have a meeting with City Hall today, John, to see if I can be broadcasting from City Hall at the parade. So I will get everybody.
Nice.
Everybody.
I will check in via phone unless the Eagles have a media bus or media truck or whatever, which they were going to do last time and pulled it at the last minute. So my assumption is, since it's a day before the parade, they're not going to have that. So there's no real media availability for us. So everybody be safe is my recommendation.
I say be safe, everybody, down there. So today's clean out day, Johnny Mac. Do you have media availability with the team today? And I normally remember some final interviews you guys get from them.
Yeah. The locker room's open today. Gonna be one-ish, maybe a little bit after that, but so as the guys clean out their lockers, we get to talk to them one last time, and it's a happy time this year. Not always, obviously. Typically 31 teams lose their last game, so typically it's not a very celebratory environment, but this time it will be. And we'll get some comments from the potential free agents and things like that. But last chance, talk to the guys in a group for this season.
Good stuff there, Johnny Match. I got a good question for you in this opening segment. We're going to talk to Jeff Kerr coming up at 8:20. All right, we haven't talked to Jeff in a little bit here, and it's been we had him on briefly in New Orleans, but we've had 2 full weeks without Jeff. So we'll get to Jeff today. Looking forward to talking to Jeff. He put in the last second Kansas City Chiefs pick on the program, but we'll talk to him a little bit later today. I do want to give people the timeline. All right, we're 1 day away from the Philadelphia Eagles victory parade. All right, so who is going to that? You let me know in the comments. We are 14 days away from the NFL Combine. We are 27 days away from free agency. John just mentioned he's going to talk to a couple free agents, Zach Bond, Milton Williams, Josh Sweat. We'll talk about them. And we are 70 days away from the NFL draft. So we are still right in the thick of it with this football season. And as John has said many times before, the offseason is a fun time. All right, it's a fun time. So it's good content, and we look forward to talking to you guys through it all. John, I want to ask you a personal question here. I think the people who listen to us have they have an understanding more so than maybe other listeners of shows. I think we open up and we talk to them about a lot of, how do you reflect on this season personally? It's a grind for you guys. Not everybody sees that. They just see kind of, what you put out into the world, the content that you put out into the world. But how do you kind of look back and view this season and the journey that it was, both for the team and for yourself and for the beat reporters? And it is a grind for you guys, obviously. And how do you look back on it right now? I know we're just 4 days removed. Maybe there will be more clarity in the future, but how do you look back on this season, Johnny Mac?
I haven't really done it, so that's like a player answer. I haven't really reflected
that makes
on
sense,
it.
though.
It's not even over from my perspective. And then because it's such the short season, long season, short off season, we're right back in it, as you mentioned with some of those dates. So when you go to the Super Bowl, and that's the goal for any team, there's, I always talk about unintended consequences. Well, one of those, and that's why, when you had a team like the Patriots or the Chiefs winning 2 in a row, getting back to 3, the fact that they're able to do it with these short seasons is that much more impressive where everybody else is, kicking back and formulating their plans and has been for weeks and weeks now, most teams. So that part of it is, but it's always better to cover a team that's relevant, I would say, from
Right.
my perspective. Now, sometimes bad teams are relevant for different reasons. But, it's generally a bad environment. People are unhappy. People, so anytime you have a good team, I would say it's a little bit easier, just from the standpoint of interest and all that kind of stuff. And this was a very good team, and there was a lot of also, never hitting their stride during the season. So there was always a lot of questions, a lot of speculation. Could they reach their ceiling? And they did, to their credit. The final two games, that's what we all envisioned when we looked at this roster and said, all right, well, what are you going to do to stop this offense? Never really formulated until those last two games. We had both sides of it performing at a high level. So, and you can imagine if they can bottle that into next year, you're going to be a significant contender again. A lot of things got to go your way, starting with injuries. You saw what happened to Detroit, starting with Aiden Hutchinson. You can imagine what happens if Jalen Carter gets hurt.
They're already talking shit, Johnny Mac.
Well, I mean, they have a lot of issues from the coaching staff perspective as well, losing both coordinators, but they were a very good team, and I think everybody should realize that if they were healthy, they would have been a tough out. But it's part of the game, and they weren't, and they didn't make their goals. And now they got to start over with we're going to see what Ben Johnson is. A lot of people have made him up to be the best offensive mind in football, where you're going to see it on both ends. How is Detroit going to get a lot worse? And is Chicago going to get a lot better? I know I saw somebody speculating Eagles Chicago might be.
I saw that too.
The opener, and I'm like, well, that's a pretty easy one for the Eagles starting off. I would think you'd want a little bit more. They have a ways to go, but
we are 203 days away, John, from that game.
Yeah, I mean Chicago in general, not the timing, but Chicago's got a ways to go.
No, they do. But they're not going to use Eagles Lions in week one, right? I mean, the NFL is going to get good ratings on opening night anyway. I don't think they're going to drop.
They get good ratings, but they generally want some kind of competitive game, and I'm not sure. That's what I was talking about Chicago. But I bring that up because that's people's belief in Ben Johnson. Like, right. They're going to be good, and I'll hedge my bets on that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that all plays out, Johnny Mac. Good stuff, John. We'll continue to talk to you about all of those things as we move into the offseason, everybody. All right, we're one day out from the parade, as I mentioned. John, what's the update on the offensive coordinator search? When will we know more about this? I know they're going to obviously interview Kevin Patullo. Any other names that you have heard that they're going to interview? When will that kind of officially kick off? Because, I mean, I know the team is in celebratory mode, but 14 days away from a combine, you're 27 days away from free agency, you're 70 days away from the draft, and you are 203 days away from that Thursday night football opener for the NFL. So my assumption would be they want to get this thing filled pretty quickly. When will we know more, and what do you know so far?
They'll probably begin in earnest next week. They've already begun, to be honest. Behind the scenes, how he talked about it. It's like his job is sort of twofold. He's got to think about the now and he's got to think about the future. So they know where they're going, who they want to interview. But obviously nothing's going to kick into gear till after the parade and after cleanout day, which is a little bit later. Typically, it's the day after the season. But when you win the Super Bowl, you have all these you saw Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley on the Tonight Show and Good Morning America and all that kind of stuff, and Howard Stern, yada, yada, yada. You got all these commitments. Walt Disney World, So it throws, wrenches into all the normal ways the NFL handles and does business. But yeah, I mean they'll pick it up, and I'm not going to say 100% because there's always the open door. You have to interview 2 outside minority candidates. The NFL expanded the Rooney Rule a couple years ago, so they have to interview people from outside the organization. But I would say the prohibitive favorite is Kevin Patullo, and it would surprise me if he didn't get the job. But anytime you get an interview, you can hit it out of the park, and if you hit a home run, you never know. But I would think that that's the way they're going to go.
Do you believe that Frank Reich will get an interview? I know he's like a popular name, and I know we've talked
I
about
know, I know. I mean that's up to where's Frank in his life?
Right,
What
he's
does he want to
63.
do?
He's already getting paid from the Carolina. Does he want to come to Philly? It's a big question.
Yeah, what does he want to do? Does he want to take a step back after being a head coach? Does he want to be essentially an employee of his former employee? There's a lot of things that come into that. And some guys, I don't think by any stretch Frank has a big ego. So if he wants to coach, I'm sure, Nick Sirianni would give him the courtesy of an interview. He freaking loves the guy. But yeah, I've said it from the start because, boy, I mean, if you ever coach here, people want you back and if you ever coach here and had any success, people want you back. And I would think they'll be looking forward, but we'll see.
Yeah, he didn't call plays when he was the offensive coordinator. Not everybody knows that, John, that he didn't call plays. I was
Well, they should. they forget really quickly. Yeah, he did
not everybody has the great privilege of listening to Birds 365, and we didn't even have Birds 365 then. So we have the more educated audience now, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, he didn't call it, but it's one of those things that when he left, there was a downtick, obviously, and then it became the narrative that Frank that's because Frank did this and Frank did that. But not the case. Doug called the plays, and yeah. So I know people want to replicate Vic Fangio. That's not happening on the offensive side of the ball. And look, I think there's also this mentality of this doesn't happen everywhere. This happens everywhere. Like look around the league.
Yeah, but not to this level. There's no other quarterback in the league that's had this much turnover. I'm not saying you're wrong about when you're good, that's going to happen, but the degree to which it's happened with Jalen Hurts is definitely heightened.
Yeah, I think it's the modern NFL. I think the offensive coordinators, I think 2022 is the longest tenured offensive coordinator. It's ridiculous. I mean, in the case of the Eagles, it's difficult because of the success they had. So I say it all the time.
There's literally no fix. I mean, coaches are going to get fired every year, at least probably 4, 5, 6 of them every single year, no matter what happens in the NFL. And then you're looking at the 4, 5, 6 best coordinators. And if your team is, up there, they're gone.
Well, exactly. So, and if they don't, there's a two-edged sword when you're as good as the Eagles. If you're good, you're at risk of losing them, as happened this year with Kellen. And if you're bad or don't reach expectations, they weren't bad last year, but if you don't reach expectations, then you need the scapegoats, which is one of the few things I think Jeffrey Lurie needs to revisit, because I say all the time, I think I forget who said he's the best owner in sports. Somebody said that yesterday. Might have been BLG, but he's up there. But the one thing that he is not ahead of the curve on is that reactionary bullshit when things don't go exactly according to plan, and somebody's got to pay for it. But again, he's not the only. Everybody does that. But I think him as a forward-thinking guy, he prides himself on being a forward-thinking guy. He's got to understand that it's cyclical. Injuries happen, things happen. You're not going to win every year.
Right.
And he should understand that better than anybody.
Did he show a sign of growth there last year with the way you retained Sirianni?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. You certainly could have fired him.
Yeah, it's
But
kind
I,
of an
but
easy cut, though. The
but
guy
I,
was the most, yeah,
but I
yeah.
would say this from talking to everybody since, and he was the only one considering it. Nobody else was considering it. Howie didn't want him out.
Right.
So I mean, why are you even considering it?
I know, right? He was very, very successful up to that point. 1 year after going to a Super Bowl. So no, I mean, remember when we talked about it as we were speculating, you tell the story all the time. You flew into Tampa saying no chance they fire Nick Sirianni. On your flight home, you're like, maybe they're gonna fire Nick Sirianni. Probably wasn't the right move there, but
No, and that's because of the optics, nothing more.
right.
Um,
Yeah, we talked about the optics firing 2 Super Bowl coaches, that quickly. Wouldn't have been a good look. It wouldn't have been a good look.
And that's probably what helped Nick in the end, to
I
be
agree.
honest. But yeah, it was kind of silly to talk about firing him. I mean, he didn't, so it's not that big of a deal. But it shows the reactionary nature of football. I mean, you see it. Bobby Slowick went from head coaching interviews to out of work in Houston because they lost a playoff game they were supposed to lose.
Yeah. Who's the other guy that happened to you mentioned to me? Byron Leftwich?
Yeah, Byron. I mean, Byron was almost the head coach.
He was nearly the Jacksonville head coach,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
And then he's out of the league. And Bobby just landed in Miami. That was a guy everybody said, well, maybe the Eagles interview him. That's another thing.
Did he get an offensive coordinator job there?
No, senior passing game coordinator. So, but he already signed with Miami, and that's when you talk about late. There's also the kid from Iowa State that they interviewed when they were talking to Kellen Moore. This Nick Sirianni is very close to Matt Campbell, and Nate Shielhaas is a guy they interviewed as a Rooney Rule candidate, and a very young, up and coming coach now with the Rams. I thought that's somebody they'd revisit, but he signed up recently to return to Los Angeles. And it's really late in the process. You're getting the Sean Desai's of the world. That's why I'm so high up on hey, you gotta go with Kevin Patullo.
I agree with you, but I will say this, all right. And we know about Jeffrey Lurie, and Jeffrey Lurie, you talk about him all the time with the way he likes to, be forward thinking and learn from mistakes and stuff, things of that nature. All right, here's the last 5 offensive coordinators for the Eagles: Frank Reich, Mike Groh, Shane Steichen, Brian Johnson, and then Kellen Moore. There's 2 clear names there who were scapegoated and sent out to pasture. Both of those guys were promoted from within. I'm not saying Kevin Patullo is going to have the same fate or that he won't do a nice job. But does the owner look at this and say, well, Kellen was successful, we brought him from the outside. Shane was successful, he was brought in obviously with Nick Sirianni. Frank was successful under Doug. When we promoted Mike Groh from within, unsuccessful. When we promoted Brian Johnson from within, unsuccessful. Again, I'm not trying to criticize Patullo, but do you think the owner puts any stock in that?
No, one of the things Nick points out correctly so, and I think people should realize, Shane was a promotion in-house. Shane was brought in, as you mentioned, but he was brought in as the offensive coordinator, not the play caller. And then Nick decided, job's too big. I'm going to go in a different direction. Right. They didn't go outside the organization for Shane Steichen. And Nick points that out pretty consistently. So really you're talking about one guy, Kellen Moore. And look, I think Kellen did a phenomenal job, but for different reasons than most people think.
I agree. I know where you're going with this. I agree.
And he was not what was advertised by even a realm of the motion, the
Yeah, no,
creativity.
John, I remember it so well, the off-season stories leading up to this, and he's going to be the difference that the team needs in the passing game. With remember, we used to fight about motion in the off
Yeah,
season. I mean, I
nobody's talking about.
remember it
That's
well.
another one. I never hear motion anymore.
Yeah, you
I
don't.
never hear
You can
creativity.
spike the
Sometimes
football in that, John.
sometimes I get creativity, and that's such a nebulous word. I love when people talk about creativity and they have no idea what is being run.
Right.
But anyway, from Kellen's perspective, I thought he showed what a great coach he is by adjusting in season, and that's what you do. And what he was trying to evolve the offense, and there's no hurt in trying to evolve the offense in the off season in the spring, and it's all we talked about. You can go back and read me or read Jeff Kerr, read anybody else. It's all anybody was talking about, the evolution of the offense and all that kind of stuff. And then week 5, they said, hey, it's not working to the degree we wanted, and let's scale it back and lean on one of the great offensive lines in NFL history, and Saquon Barkley, who had the best running season in NFL history. And they rode it all the way to the Super Bowl. And Kellen deserves credit because that was not his offense in Dallas. It was not his offense with the Chargers. But he deserves credit for morphing around the talent he had. He never had an offensive line like that. And he had some good ones in Dallas, but
Right.
So, you come in and you see that and you say, all right, let me lean on these guys. And it worked. So to me, that's great coaching. And the next guy will come in, whether it's Kevin or somebody else, and try to evolve the offense further. And if it doesn't work to the degree they had hoped, they'll probably scale it back again because they're going to have a really good offensive line and a really good running back.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there. Let's get to a couple super chats. Then we'll get to Jeff Kerr. He was in here. He dropped out. Maybe he's having some internet issues. We'll see when we get to him. Dank Bird Gang says, I'm rocking my Stout U hoodie right now. Thanks a ton, Zander. Dank Bird Gang, thank you, brother. Appreciate you being here, being a member, and supporting the channel. I'm super happy you got your hoodie. Brandon Lewis checks in. Good morning to the PFF guy, John McMullen and Zander. I love it. Good morning, Brandon. How you doing, brother?
Hey, by the way, speaking of PFF, Cooper. Your dad was asking me something about Cooper DeJean yesterday.
Yeah, he was doing a short on Cooper, yeah.
And I'm looking at, he ended up being the number 1 graded quarterback in the entire NFL.
Yep, that's pretty unbelievable.
Number one. So I imagine Brandon will like that one.
Brandon, do you like to hear that, brother? Good stuff, Brandon. Thank you, brother. Nick Gonzalez checks in. John, can we get some inside baseball? How much does AJ actually dislike Jalen? I love the Birds, but never see them even talk. I think he hates them. I don't agree, man, but,
no, they don't hate each other. Now, AJ has 2 young kids. I don't know if anybody has your friends get married and they have kids and you don't hang out with them as much as you used to. It's a natural part of growing up. So I don't think they hang out as much as they used to. But no, they don't hate each other. And there was plenty of video of their celebrations together in the Super Bowl. They do not hate each other. Yeah. AJ's a very I don't want to use the word strange, but he's a very rare person in the fact. I don't know if you saw his Instagram comments. He's like, "You're not happy." He thought he'd be happy.
I understood what he was saying.
Yeah, so did I because I've gotten to know him over the years. He's just an incredibly driven person. He's always working out. He's always doing stuff to get better. And he thought he'd be satisfied by Super Bowl championship. And he's like 2 days later, he's like, all right, what next? Which I think is a good thing, by the way.
That's a great thing. Are you kidding me? I think that's an important way to view life. That's why I love Jalen Hurts has that approach as well, where it's the process. It's not the results.
So no, they don't hate each other. Yeah, and I don't. But again, people reach different stages in life,
Right.
and
Will you confirm or deny that there's a little bit of a complex change in their relationship since they started working together here in Philly?
well, I
Or
think that's the complex change, but I don't think it's that complex. I think that's natural. Again, everybody in their own lives, especially if you're my age, you have your friends, you have your boys in college, and
right.
every one of them gets picked up, and you
Yeah, I'm
don't see them as
26.
much.
It already happened to me. I mean, all my college boys, I haven't seen a lot of them in years.
Yeah, you don't see them as much, and it's just growing up. It's all it is. Excuse me. It's Yeah, I think that's it. That's the extent of it. So they don't spend as much time together because of that. Because when AJ does get free time, he's spending it with his kids. Um, and that's pretty much it, I would say.
Good
Now,
stuff there. Good.
I know everybody goes down the route because the diva wide receiver, blah, 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 doesn't get enough touches. He definitely wants to touch the ball more.
Right.
But, again, I would say you don't want a wide receiver that doesn't want the football. That's not a good way to go.
Yeah, I agree. William Robinson checks in. We're going to get to Jeff Kerr in just a second. Good morning, Jeff. Jeff, I've been waiting to talk to you, brother. Good to have you back on here. One thing about changing coordinators so often is while there will be hiccups, all that information and growth will make him a beast down the road. Do not doubt a 4,000-yard season one day as he grows. And I don't even think that's a metric, William, I'm looking for, to be honest with you. I mean, I think it's overrated. I really do. But, John, what's your response to
Yeah,
that?
well, I'm with you. I don't give a shit. 4,000, 4,500. Generally, if you throw for a lot of yards, you're behind a lot. You're trying to come back. Quarterback play is really poorly evaluated, I would say, by most people. And it's are you making Tom Brady described? Oh, always listen to Tom when it comes to quarterback.
Yeah, right. That's a good guy to listen to.
His evaluation is simple. Did I get my team in the position to make the best play each and every play? How many times do I do that in a game? That's his stat. That's it. That's it. Sometimes it might not even work, but you put him in the right position to potentially succeed.
Right.
All the other stats, and I get stats are part of sports and part of it, but it really is bullshit. And I say it all the time. And if Jeff figures out there he is, and he's a stat guy. But I get it; they have their place. But like Kirk Cousins is a guy I talked about, who I think is an underrated quarterback. He throws for 4,000 yards every year, or he did till he tore his Achilles. High volume thrower, but he's also on mediocre teams. He's got a chance to do that. Still great, arm talent and all that kind of stuff if you evaluate it from play to play. But that's not what you want. You don't want somebody throwing. You go way back to Dan Marino, might have been one of the most best throwers of the football of all time, near 5,000 yards and all that kind of stuff. You don't want that. You don't want that. That means you don't run it at all. I would say, to be honest, Saquon Barkley, you don't want that. What you want is the last two games,
right,
where you can do both. That's what you want.
I agree.
Now the Eagles were able to win, and you can win a lot of ways. But what you want to be, clicking on all cylinders is to be able to do both. And the Eagles were able to do that against Washington and Kansas City.
Good stuff there. Final one of them, we're going to get to Jeff here. Luke's dad said Slowick got screwed. Any offense that loses two top receivers, two top linemen is going to struggle against the conference champ. Yeah, I get that. There's no doubt about it. I mean,
well, yeah, he's a scapegoat. I mean, that's by nature. I mean,
don't reach expectations. It's not just a Philly thing. You're gone. But you are right, Luke's dad. It was an unfortunate circumstance for him. It's like the Lions. If we lost Zach Bond, Jalen Carter, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and Quinyon Mitchell this year, would we have been good? I don't think so. I don't think so, but I digress. All right, let's get to Jeff Kerr here. I want to give you guys a quick live read, then we'll pull up Jeff. All right, check out BetUS, everybody. They've been sponsoring us all year long. They're going to keep sponsoring us all through the offseason. Go check them out now. Use the promo code YouTube150. Gives you a 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit. You get 125% on your second and third deposit, all up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And a big thanks to them for sponsoring the show today. Let's get to the man, the myth, the legend, the guy we've been missing on Birds 365, Jeff Kerr, joining us now here on the show. Jeff, how you doing this morning, brother? Good Thursday to you after the Super Bowl.
I'm finally on a normal sleep schedule, Xander.
Yeah, you guys have been grinding, Jeff. Good to have you back on the show, man.
Oh, yeah. Pleasure to be back. I'll say that.
Well, I guess we'll talk about the big game. I didn't see that coming. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Where do you start with that performance? For me, it's the defense, but where do you start?
I really don't think we've seen a team dominate like that in a Super Bowl since Seattle dominated Denver. And I don't think anybody saw that coming either.
No.
When, first play of the game's a safety, and it just kind of snowballed from there. It was, the defense, I can't say enough about how great that pass rush was. They did not blitz once, and they were able to get to him. And I just remember Saturday night, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? The Chiefs' offensive line really isn't that good. And I said, don't pick against Mahomes and Reed. I'm like, I might change that. And yeah, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
Definitely what I was thinking in the back of my head came true.
Yeah, I went immediately to Tom Brady and Patrick in their 2 Super Bowl losses. In the case of Tom, not the Eagles, the other 2. He's been in so many Super Bowls, but where the New York Giants beat him both times. It's pass rush. In that case, straight up the interior. That's how they won both of those games. Tampa Bay, pass rush. Mahomes had nowhere to go. Eagles, as you mentioned, pass rush. Didn't blitz once. By the way, I had 97 people. Zach Bowen blitz. Why do these people talk, Jeff? I mean,
he blitzed.
If somebody blitzes, a blitz by an NFL definition is 5 or more. So if Zach Bowen is rushing the passer, it's not necessarily a blitz if somebody else drops.
Right.
But
someone
everybody
else did drop on that play everybody's talking about. So.
That's what happened on that play, because I got the same comment that Zach Bowen rushed one play. So what a blitz? Yeah.
Not a blitz. Not a blitz, people. Stop it.
Yes, stop it early in the show today.
But anyway, I digress because I've got so many people. No, he rushed. I'm like, just stop. What do you don't know? Don't pretend you know.
It's so funny, John. Like I spent yesterday defending Jason Kelce, which he doesn't mean
we haven't talked
him.
about that. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, he doesn't need me to defend him, but I'm like, come on, man. Like I literally posted. I'm like, look, I have my link. The story I had pinned from the Super Bowl 2 years ago, I really do think people should read. It is about how Jason and Travis, like basically, Jason saved Travis's life, essentially.
Yeah.
That's his
ride or die. You hear the way Travis talks about Jason.
Yeah.
All the time. But I mean, if you can't understand why somebody puts family in front of a football team, I can't help you.
Well, there's multiple sides to this, and I don't disagree with you guys, all right? But I'm going to give you guys the other side, all right? It's a football game. It's not putting family before the Eagles fan base. The Eagles fan base is loyal, all right? They look at Jason Kelce and say, this city has enriched you. You found your wife here. Everything that has come in your career is because of the Philadelphia Eagles, all right? I'm not saying.
Hold on a second. The same fans wanted to run this guy out of town 11 years ago.
Yeah,
remember that.
I mean, that's everybody. If you don't,
come on, Zander,
I'm just saying. I see both sides. I'm not saying I agree with it.
The ego of these people. And I'm only talking about the people that insulted Jason Kelce.
Yeah, there are a lot of people defending him too.
Yeah,
I know, but you guys can't say. Look, you can't say this. It's just football is just a game. and then say I have to root for Travis because it's
Who
football.
said it was just
if
a
I play
game?
my brother in a game of golf, I'm going to say I want to beat your ass. Doesn't mean I don't like you.
But
I
he's
mean,
not
it's
playing.
it's
But he's
not
not
that
playing
serious,
him.
I don't
Well,
think.
he did play him, and he wanted to beat his ass.
Yeah.
That's totally different. Now he's not playing. He wants to root for his brother.
Yeah,
And
that's
by the
fine.
way, he
Like I
said
said, I see both sides of it. I'm not going to criticize the
pretty
fan though for being
consistently
upset.
said, you know, how happy he was for all his friends on the Eagles. And by the way, the Eagles didn't give Jason Kelce everything. Jason Kelce had a lot to do with it. By the way he handled his job and the way he turned into a Hall of Fame player. You know, it's not like, yeah, the Eagles have a good organization, Jeff Stoutland, yada, yada, yada. But Jason Kelce's the guy on the field playing and turned into a Hall of Fame player. No, I sorry. Yeah, I don't care. Anybody who's criticizing Jason Kelce, first of all, as Jeff pointed out, you don't know the relationship. So I don't care. My family, your family, anybody else's family, they're very close. And he wants to root for his brother. Godspeed. That's it for me.
Yeah, but
That's
you can understand
I
that
am.
it is complex. I mean, it's
I don't think it's complex at all. That's my point. I mean, get over it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I said. Deal with it. It's his brother plays for the Chiefs.
All right. So a year ago, Jason said he was rooting for the Eagle. I mean, just because that shows you though that a year ago, before it actually happened, he understood in the same way that I'm saying. And I'm not even saying I'm not mad at Jason Kelce at all. I could care if my brother was in a game, I'd root for my brother too. I prefaced my comment by saying that. I'm just showing you the other side. It doesn't surprise me that this city, with the fans,
it doesn't surprise me.
with this
But
city, with
I
the way
think
the
those
fans
those
are, both
fans
good and
are
bad, that they had that reaction. It doesn't surprise me.
I
nor
think
does it
those
bother me.
fans are egomaniacal and asking too much from players.
Well, you're entitled to that opinion.
Yeah,
You know,
from a guy
I
who
started,
literally gave it his all every single day he played here, and still gives his all to this organization. Like it had to be
Yeah.
tough.
Wait, how about this though? I want to ask you guys both about this. I mean, it's got to be tough also for Jason, right? I mean, you're the Hall of Fame guy there. You're the most loved center in Eagles history for a long time. I mean, for the last 3 years, it's been Jason Kelce, Jason Kelce, Jason Kelce. And then you hang him up and the team goes and wins the Super Bowl the very first year after. It's a tough. I understand the mixed emotions that Jason must have had watching that game.
yeah, well, he loves, you know, he considers Lane Johnson a brother. You know, so, you know, and he's a big part of the organization. I joked in the offseason, you'll see it. He's around there more than anybody else. So he loves the organization. Two things can be true at the same time. Unfortunately, it worked out that way where it was the Chiefs and Travis against the Eagles again. And he made it very clear that he was happy for the Eagles. But people hear what they want to hear. Yeah, I can't. But, you know, here's the one thing I'll say. Jason should know these people will turn on you in a dime, a dime. He should know that, and he should have thicker skin, especially if he wants to stay in this industry, which he's having tremendous success. Yeah, they're gonna.
I would have had more respect if he came out and said, "Fuck you, Philly. I'm rooting for my brother." What the hell are you guys talking about? I think that would have been better. But you try and cower, or you try and appease everybody. It never works.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that part. I said, you know, 90. Most Eagles fans don't care about anything but the Eagles, and there are bigger things in life.
Yeah, and most people are set in their ways when it comes to their opinion. They never want to hear the other side, or as our buddy Andrew DeCecco says, they don't want to elevate the conversation when you want to elevate the conversation.
Hey, that's mine. DeCecco's still there.
Andrew DeCecco got that.
Yeah, okay, so that's from you. That's from you.
Come on, DeCecco. Don't try and pull that on me. Johnny Mac's been saying that for freaking years here on Birds 365. No, but look, Jeff, like you just said, nobody wants to see the other side. I'm not saying I agree with it. Again, I'm not mad at Kelce at all. I love Jason Kelce. He did a lot for this organization. He brought a Super Bowl to this city as well. Gave one of the most iconic speeches in the history of this city, which I will predict right now will not be topped tomorrow. I'm just giving you guys the other side. It doesn't surprise me that.
Yeah, you know what? There's someone I think that could do it, and he's not a player.
Vic Fangio?
No. You know where I'm going with this, John.
Nick?
Yes.
Yes, I like that.
I
like that
I got to see Unplugged Nick Sunday. Yeah.
I think Jordan's going to be the guy, Jordan Mailata, because people like cursing, and he's going to curse a lot.
Jordan just says, you know what, every 3 words.
People like that. So I think it's going to be Jordan.
Jordan's a good pick, too.
There's going to be a lot of F-bombs.
Landon's a sleeper, too.
Who do you think anybody thanks the Giants tomorrow?
I hope not. I'm like so dumb. Like
Oh,
Saquon Barkley won a Super Bowl.
I can't get
and like
enough
he's on
of
the
this.
Tonight Show or whatever it was. It found they're like, oh, the Giants, and I'm like, dude, just let the guy move on from the damn New York Giants. It drives me crazy.
I'll tell you what, though, the way the Giants treated that guy, I'm just saying, like,
yeah, I get it.
Not the Giants. By the way, it's not the Giants.
Joe Shane is not a good dude. That's where this all comes from.
Yeah, because the other Saquon mentioned he still talks to the who's the GM that drafted him, Jeff?
Dave Gettleman. They love Brian Dable. They love. They always call him Mr. Mara. They love him.
Yeah, they love John Mara. They love Steve Tisch. It's one guy. It's one guy,
and he's still there. So they're gonna harp on it.
It's one guy. Saquon. In fact, Saquon was on Howard Stern show as well, and they sent me the quotes from that. He was asked it again. I'm sure he's sick of it. I'm sure he'll get asked it again today at Clean Out Day. And he basically said that that his chip on his shoulder, just the obsession of trying to be great rather than a get back or, flipping the bird to the Giants because it's a business. It's the NFL. I've seen worse, to be honest, he said. I've seen worse, and they could have done me wrong. They could have tagged me, could have forced me. They could have traded me. They actually gave me what they did in our business was kind of the respectable thing to do. And that's no surprise because Mr. Mara, to Jeff's point, and Tisch, which is the other owner, and the whole organization is first class. That's from Saquon fucking Barkley. Can we shut the book on that?
I know. Seriously.
He loves John Mara. He loves Steve Tisch. He loves everybody in that organization. He loves Daniel Jones.
Yeah, exactly. Wasn't he at the NFC title game?
Yeah.
He's at Super Bowl, too.
Oh, was he? Nice.
Yeah.
He's gunning beers with Nick Gates because they were on the Giants together.
That's pretty funny.
He loves the entire organization except for Joe Shane. Yeah, I wish everybody could put that one in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, no,
and hopefully,
Jeff, I want to ask you about something though. All right, with this Super Bowl, in my opinion, this is the vindication here is mostly for Jalen and Nick Sirianni. Now, maybe that's wrong, but in my opinion, those are the two guys who overcame, I think, the perception around the league, whatever it might be from whoever it might have been. And those are the guys who got over the hump and proved the naysayers, the critics wrong, whatever you want to say. Your take on that, your take on what those two guys have accomplished. And now you start to look at their 4-year career together. And Jeff, you're like, holy shit. You top it off with the Super Bowl now. It's like all of a sudden that win percentage comes into play. All of a sudden how many games Jalen Hurts has won comes into play. And you start looking at this body of work. 2 NFC titles, a Super Bowl MVP for Jalen Hurts, the 700+ winning percentage for Nick Sirianni, and all pro for Jalen. You're like, don't blink now, but these guys are on a Hall of Fame level trajectory through only 4 years. Your thoughts on those two guys after winning the Super Bowl?
I mean, even if they lost that Super Bowl, I'd still hold Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni in high regards because it's really hard to even get to a Super Bowl. Yep. And you've been to 2 of them in 4 years now. Look, all Jalen Hurts has done is win. At any level, and I have said this repeatedly. This football world cannot admit a quarterback that got benched at halftime in the national championship game for whatever reason, performance, whatever, was a second-round pick, couldn't throw, this or that, is actually good. They want their story. They want their Joe Burrow. He wants to still be dominant. They want their first-round picks to win. They just can't admit that this guy that got benched for Tua Tagovailoa won and wins. They just can't admit it. And it is a chip on Jalen's shoulder. And I just think he carried that wherever he went. And when we got those couple standstill moments of him smoking the cigar and him sitting in the lobby with the trophy. Like
Yeah.
I could pretty much hear what he said. Like, I effing did it. We effing did it. And it was, it was like validation. It's like, okay, now what are you going to say? Now what's your BS excuse? Josh Allen don't have one. Lamar Jackson don't have one. Joe Burrow don't have one. Oh, by the way, I beat Patrick Mahomes. I slayed the dragon, right? Like,
absolutely. I mean, Jeff, if you look across the entire league right now, just look at active quarterbacks for a second. This is a 26-year-old player, all right? If I'm not mistaken, Jeff, you and John both, correct me if I'm wrong here. I got Aaron Rodgers is an active quarterback with a Super Bowl ring, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, and Patrick Mahomes. I think those are the only other 4 with Super Bowl rings right now.
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco. Is he still active? I didn't have him as active
He
in my
will
head.
be.
You're right.
It might not be till November, but he will.
Here's
Yeah,
Andrew.
right.
Here's a good one for you. There have been 84 quarterbacks selected from 2018 on. 2018 on. There's only 2 that have won. Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. Like,
It's unbelievable.
Like, Mahomes ring blocks pretty much everybody.
And you look at those 5 that are active that have won, Jeff Kerr. I mean, Jalen Hurts has been to 2 Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers has been to 1 and won one, never been back. Russell Wilson's been to 2, won 1. Who's the other guy I mentioned? Matthew
Stafford has been.
Matthew Stafford been to 1 and won 1. Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's only 4-year career. He's kind of been further and not accomplished more. That's not the right word because these guys have long careers. But through 4 years, his trajectory is better than all of those people. He's second to only Mahomes in terms of that.
Yeah, and look, he is the top. I think overall he's like 7th in career win percentage as a starting quarterback. Where you think wins his quarterback stat or not, it's still impressive for him.
I agree.
And I just think people want this Dan Marino type quarterback and not Philadelphia. I'm just saying,
I think a lot of people want that.
Well, that doesn't win.
It doesn't guarantee wins, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I do, because we talked about elevating the conversation. There are other players out on the field. Because I really, it's a pet peeve to mine when people say Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Like nobody else is helping them or hurting them along the way.
Yeah, I think
I get it. I get it. It wouldn't. That's what it's about. You win your Super Bowl championship, Super Bowl MVP. But the irony of that is I always say that about John Elway. John Elway was great when he was losing Super Bowls. He was at the end of his career on fumes when he was winning Super Bowls because of Terrell Davis.
And the defense.
And the defense. Now, this defense, historic.
Yeah.
The way they performed.
MVP of the team, this defense. Overall.
Historic the way they performed in the Super Bowl. Saquon Barkley, historic the way he performed.
Just think about this, Sean. The Chiefs basically sold their soul to the devil to stop Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, they did.
And Jalen.
That's the only thing they could accomplish. And to Jalen's credit, he took advantage of it because he ran the football very effectively.
I do laugh how Saquon put the hypothetical in there to me last week. I think he said I'll take 20 carries for 50 yards if we win, and that's pretty much what he had.
Yeah, he also said, I don't care if we went 3-0 as long as
he didn't care. He wanted the trophy. That's all he cared about.
Now, I was happy for Jalen Hurts, and this is more of a fan comment. I understand that, but I was happy for Jalen Hurts because, and this is no knock on Saquon, but this entire season, Saquon's gotten every headline, every accolade, every all the spotlight was on Saquon, and I'm happy for him. I think he deserved it. He had an unbelievable season, but to see Jalen kind of shine in that moment, to see Jalen them take away Saquon, and Jalen said, "Screw you," throws the dagger to Devontae Smith. I thought it was a cool moment. I think that's why people like sports, is to see moments like that.
Did you guys see Saquon on that play when Jalen threw that pass?
Yeah, he goes like this right away.
Yeah. There was Landon knew it. Somebody else
Saquon,
knew it. AJ knew it. Saquon knew it. Yeah, Jalen. I remember that interaction with Jalen. I forget which game it was, but I asked him about the deep ball, and he had a knack for it. And he said, "I've never heard that before."
Yeah.
And I went, "What are you talking about? You never heard of it?" I'm like, he really does put the chip on his shoulder. And I always say, great. I'm like, if it works for you, it works for you. Use it. But I do think, and Zander and I have talked about this in a while, I'm one who said it right to his face. And he's like, I've never heard that before. Well, you're ignoring the people complimenting you, which is fine. But this narrative of everybody thinks Jalen Hurts is a crappy quarterback, I've never gotten that.
I don't know. This is where I think you're a little wrong. I think you're wrong, John, honestly.
I think the worst thing in the world in today's society is the For You button on Twitter, because you see stuff you would not see because you're not following these.
But how is it other than they're more famous than me?
But why are they more famous?
Well, they are more famous. How does
why? Because they clickbait. They're trying to get you to read their stuff.
But don't you, Jeff? Don't you agree? I mean, and John, don't you both agree? I mean, going back to the college, going back to this entire career, I mean, there's always been a little bit of a shadow of a doubt on Jalen Hurts.
Well, there's always been one
as a quarterback. I mean,
what quarterback is there not a shadow of a doubt on? Lamar Jackson is
Josh Allen had those doubts too, by the way.
Lamar Jackson does. Josh Allen does. Joe Burrow does.
So you don't think there's any bigger degree of criticism or doubt on Jalen Hurts than any of those other guys?
No, I think most people believe that they're better quarterbacks, and I believe they're better quarterbacks. But it's not an insult to Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts is this generation.
I think Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback. If you're going to sit here because he won a Super Bowl and said he's better than Joe Burrow, again, I'm going to try to elevate the conversation and say, you don't know how to evaluate quarterback play.
Jalen Hurts is this generation's
more successful than Joe Burrow. It doesn't mean he's better than him.
He's this generation's Troy Aikman. That's what he is. Troy Aikman showed up when he had to show up, period. And the Dallas Cowboys won Super Bowls.
That's like, Jeff, I'll take that comp all day long. Troy Aikman had 3 Super Bowls and is a Hall of Fame player.
But if you look at Troy Aikman's career stat, and Jalen Hurts' better career stats than Troy Aikman, you're just like,
true story about Troy Aikman. He might be the player that created my statistical heat, Jeff Kerr. And I always tell that people find this very hard to believe, but I have never, ever played fantasy football once in my life, ever. Because
you never struck me as a fantasy football guy.
No,
I don't play either. But the viewers of JAKIB have enticed me to do a league for JAKIB next year. So I'll be playing next year, but I've never played up to this point.
I win a lot in fantasy football, but I hate it. But you know what? When you have really good teams,
that's when Troy Aikman era was when it started, really got popular. And I remember so many fans telling me Troy Aikman stinks because he doesn't have
this or that. Yeah.
3,003, because they had Emmitt Smith and the best offensive line of the generation. Sound familiar, by the way?
Oh, great defense too.
No doubt. Great defense. Yeah. Great in the trenches. Yep.
There's other people helping you win Super Bowls.
You know what my favorite statistic is with Jalen Hurts, and people hate it. Oh, rushing touchdowns. They don't count. They're tush push. Okay, let's play that game. Marcus Allen, Hall of Famer, most 1-yard rushing touchdowns in NFL history. Emmitt Smith, Hall of Famer.
I think if you get caught up in stupidity, I mean, that's where these things come from, and that's why people say, "Oh, people disrespect Jalen Hurts." No, stupid people disrespect Jalen Hurts. Yeah. You're always going to have the Chris Cannys of the world who was out there the day after the Super Bowl.
I don't know, John. I think to your point, I think you're right because you've been so close to this team. But there is a level of a, for lack of a better word, a casual viewer, okay, who understands or who remembers what happened to Jalen Hurts early in his career, whether it was college, early, drafted in the second round, whatever that was.
By the way, and why is being the 53rd overall pick in the draft an insult?
It's not an insult, but coming off of being benched in the national title game, that changes everybody's perception.
Oh, by the way.
That doesn't mean their perception is reality, but that's the perception. And that's where I think Jalen Hurts derives a lot of that motivation or whatever the word that you used was he uses it to try and get better or to try and
Yeah, and that part I have no problem with. If
They
it
don't
works
like
for you.
when it's not a first round pick wins a Super Bowl. They don't like when Tom Brady initially won Super Bowls. They did not like when whoever. I'm trying to think
I
of
don't
these.
know. If Joe Montana was a 3rd round pick, Russell Wilson was a 3rd round pick.
Different, but
Tom
Montana was
was
a
a 6th
different
round
era,
pick.
though. Like, I'm just saying. Now it's these draft gurus. They love to prove they were right. See, I was right.
yeah.
Josh Allen was a 1st round pick. He won a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, I was right about him, even though you weren't right about him. You like to say you're right. They were wrong about Jalen Hurts.
Lamar was the 32nd pick, by the way.
Yeah, but they look
Eagles
at it as
traded that
1st round
pick, right?
pick.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Eagles will trade that pick this year.
Yeah,
They
One of
might.
those sneaky valuable firsts.
these draft geniuses will never want to admit that the 5th quarterback taken in the 2020 draft is the first one to get it. Period.
Well, yeah, I guess I don't pay that much attention to, so I do have a, all right. I'm like,
Well, you're locked in, John. I mean, you've been covering Jalen Hurts his entire Eagles career. So you've watched him ascend as a player. And to your credit, you've covered it perfectly. I mean, you covered it early on. They didn't want this to be the plan. He sees the moment. He's the one who took the opportunity by the horns and ran with it. And you've covered that well. I do think, though, there is a perception around from the general public, the general audience, that Jalen has defied the critics. He has defied the pundits. He has proven them all wrong. I think that I do think that exists more than you give it credit for it.
well, and maybe the perception does, but again, I don't, and perception is often greater than reality, but reality's reality still.
Yep, that's
And
true.
I think
That was one of my
think-
yearbook quotes, John. Your perception is not my reality. That was my high school yearbook.
Yeah.
That's a great yearbook quote.
It was my
Yeah.
father gave me that quote. Yep.
So, but I don't have any problem. I would say it all the time, and I'm still the only person that says it. The Eagles threw out the disrespect card, and I'm not saying I'm the only one, but I'm one of the only ones in 2017, and acting like nobody thought they were a good team because they were underdogs.
But they
And-
were a
and-
good team.
Everybody knew they were a fucking good team. Everybody thought they were the best team in football right up until Carson Wentz tore his ACL. And then, people said, oh, they lost their starting quarterback who might have been the MVP. That's probably not good. And they turned into literal underdogs against Atlanta, Minnesota, New England. They would have been significant favorites against Atlanta, significant favorites against Minnesota. Now, they would have been underdogs in the
Against
Super
New
Bowl because
England.
it's New England. But nobody disrespected that team. Everybody knew how good that team was. But they used it, and it worked. And I had no problem with them using it, and it worked. But again, perception is not reality.
To be honest, the 2017 season really made me turn on the fans because I had to hear that BS. Nate Sudfeld should start. And I just laughed. I'm like, you people know absolutely nothing when it comes to your football team. Absolutely nothing. And I knew that for years because they still shit on Donovan McNabb. So,
John,
and Andy
Jeff,
Reid.
they were a
And Andy
little-
Reid. Andy Reid could coach around these people like a wet paper bag.
Jeff's taking some of the heat off me. Well done,
Jeff, I'll tell you what, the great people of Birds 365, the best listening audience, by the way, in the world. I don't think there's a more educated listening audience than ours. They were not happy with your Chiefs pick last week, Jeff.
That's all right. I'm wrong. I've been wrong. I picked the Eagles to beat them 2 years ago. So
yeah, I got you. I wasn't mad at you. I understoed your logic.
I
and where
picked
you
the
were
Eagles
coming
to win, but I did not think it would be that kind of beatdown.
no. And you know what? It was funny. If you would have asked me last week, Zander, if you had to pick any of those teams to win in a blowout, I would have said the Eagles. I wouldn't have said the
To me,
Chiefs.
going into the game, Jeff, there's only three options: close Eagles win, close Chiefs win, or an Eagles blowout. I didn't think the Chiefs had the ability to blow.
No, because they don't blow out
Right.
anybody.
Right, exactly. They don't do that at all. So
Yeah,
no,
we both said that numerous times during the week. If it is
Yeah.
going to be a blowout, the Eagles are going to win.
it's going to be the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
Which
This
I
is
think
where I
is
give the
good.
Eagles this is where I really give them credit in this game. They did not let their foot off the gas pedal once. Look, it was 40-6 with 5 minutes left in this game. And then they called off the dogs.
Jeff, did you happen to catch on the NFL? Now, I missed it, and they haven't posted it on YouTube. I don't know why they haven't posted it, but did you happen to catch the mic'd up? Apparently, it was.
Last night it was on at like 1:00. I watched Inside the NFL.
Yeah, I missed it. I
guys.
went to bed. I was too tired at midnight. I went to bed. They were like, it's re-airing at 1. I'm like, shit, I missed it at 8, but I'm hoping they put it on YouTube today.
Oh, it was great. Like, so my favorite is watching these guys like come out of the tunnel and like even hearing the Chiefs, like Travis Kelce going, we have a chance to make effing history. We have a chance to make effing history. And you're like, oh God, like, you know, you always forget like they actually played the game, and then like Saquon goes to Jalen, and you know they're talking like before the game, and you know just even when the Eagles were blowing them out, it's like, hey man, you know, appreciate what you did. And like Jalen like goes to him and says, no man, this is all you. And Saquon goes, I ain't the one who's gonna hold the trophy first, or something like that. I forget what he said. It was really late, but I'm like, that's kind of sick.
Yeah, so, I saw some of the people tweet. There's no clips really of it because it was they aired it on NFL Network and they didn't put it on you. They're trying to suck us in for some NFL Network viewership, but they'll put it on YouTube.
NFL Network might be getting sold, by the way.
Yeah, ESPN. Really? Yeah, ESPN's gonna. You know, everybody started networks. I think even the NFL, like the NBA, did it and eventually sold it off. WWE did it, eventually sold it off. Even the NFL. And they all thought that there would be this huge audience for old games, you know, legendary games. Nobody watches it. Nobody watches it.
They used to years ago. I remember when it came out, like in 2003. That was like a big deal that they had all that
for like
stuff.
a week, and then people go, nah, "I want something new."
Well, we got to remember too. Back when the NFL Network started, there was no YouTube.
Yeah,
there was none of that stuff. Like.
So they've been looking to sell that thing off for years because they don't make money. That's like the only thing they don't make money on.
I mean, do you watch NFL Network, John? I really don't watch it.
Very rarely.
Very rarely. I like it. I
mean, I'll see clips on there, but I mean, when you say stupid shit, I mean, I'm not going to watch you.
Jeff, I've been telling people I'm channeling my inner Jeff Kerr this offseason because I want to. I'm going to go back and watch all the old football games and some of the old classics. So I've been telling people because there's a working joke. I'm not a big movie watcher. So John and all of our viewers make fun of me for it. But I said I've been channeling my inner Jeff Kerr. I'm going to be watching.
That's all I do. Like I got so many seasons I need to watch of football. And, you know, I'm probably going to go back and watch the 2024 season at some point. But
well, do it quickly because once ESPN gets it, you're probably going to see some massive changes.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, I digress.
Well, there are a couple YouTube accounts that do a really good job at making sure they can get them up.
I hope NFL Films doesn't get sold.
Yeah, it is. It's part of it.
Oh, no.
It's part of it. Yeah.
By the way, guys, I have one of those moments where I normally would say something and I don't, and I didn't. And when I came in Sunday, I got in early. I got in with the broadcast team, and Aaron Dolan was walking in behind me, and I almost said, "Oh, look, there's the person responsible for Alec Boehm's .210 batting average in the second half of last season." I didn't say it, but that was.
No, is that his girlfriend?
Yeah, that's his girlfriend. Yeah. It was probably the worst kept secret, but no one said anything.
Well, you know, I don't blame Alec. I'll just say that, but I can't blame him for that. But with the Eagles, people are moving the goalposts with Kellen Moore leaving. Worst kept secret, New Orleans. He was going to be the next head coach. It's official now, and you still got all the, worried. Oh, Jalen Hurts has another offensive coordinator. This. They had a first-year offensive coordinator this year. They won the stinking Super Bowl. Can we put that to rest?
I actually think that makes the legacy of Jalen even better, that he has a different play caller every year.
Everybody does, Jeff. What's the longest tenured offensive coordinator in this league?
Oh man, that's a really good question.
It's like 2022.
Yeah. Well, even all time, was it like Bruce Arians?
Well, no, I don't mean all time. I mean in this environment.
Like
Currently. All the offensive coordinators just move around like, deck chairs on the Titanic, depending on If you succeed, you're going to lose them. Howie talked about this last offseason. Part of it. If you succeed, you're going to lose them. And if you don't reach expectations, you're going to lose them. So why worry about it?
One thing I'll give the Eagles a ton of credit for, they were definitely prepared for this to be a one and done type thing.
Yeah. I mean,
I think they were a little blindsided by what happened with Gannon.
Oh, they were, but that was completely, I don't want to get in that, but that was completely an issue. Remember, Arizona hired Monty Ossenfort late in the process.
Yep.
So that was completely legislation. They didn't, in the lead up to the Super Bowl at that time, because they keep changing the rules, but at that time, you could have a second interview with a candidate like Shane Steichen with Indianapolis. Indianapolis interviewed Shane Steichen in the lead up to the Super Bowl because
they did.
That was their second interview. Because Ossenfort got there so late, they didn't request Gannon early. So you remember he told everyone after the championship game that he was coming back because Houston, that was the other job he was up for, made their decision, went in a different direction. So he said he was going to be back. Then Monty Ossenfort called him to congratulate him.
Called him Monday.
Yeah, congratulate him to winning the NFC Championship. Look, would you be interested? And that was it. But that's against the rules. He did an interview with Arizona leading up to the Super Bowl, but he also didn't tell the Eagles. So that was where they were a little bit upset but from his perspective, and I talked to him about this, from his perspective, it was a flippant call. It was like, oh, congratulations. Would you be interested?
Yeah. He told me at the owners' meetings, it was a congratulations. Oh, and by the way.
Yeah. So, that's what happened. He didn't interview. Shane did, the irony of that. And then after the Super Bowl, he left. But by that point, Vic was gone. Vic was off the table. And Vic went to Miami to be the highest paid coordinator in NFL history. And anybody who's learned about Vic knows Vic. He's not going to Josh McDaniels people. So when Gannon got the job, he probably wanted to Josh McDaniels people, but he's a professional. He's not going to do that. So the Eagles didn't get the guy they wanted. They got Sean Desai. It worked out the way it worked out. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, by the way, it doesn't get talked about enough how bad the Dolphins look. The Dolphins players, not the organization.
Yeah, well, and that's interesting because of the, Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, Hollins. Those were the three players, really, that had a problem with Vic.
Well, they all like to be coached hard.
Yeah. Well, and, Jalen doesn't want to play. Just Jalen specific. And Howard, because he was a great press corner, too. I compare it to Fletcher Cox when Fletcher loved playing for Jim Schwartz. Loved it. Then Gannon came in with the gap and a half Fangio stuff, and he hated it. You remember back in the early of that season, he fucking hated it. He hated it. When you have that kind of success playing a certain way, and then somebody comes in and says, we're gonna take away your aggression.
Especially when you get to your 30s, you're like, okay,
yeah.
But
the Fletcher's credit, he eventually bought in, and the Eagles made the Super Bowl in 2022.
Yeah.
But I get it. Here, it's almost a good thing. You could never expect rookies to play the way Quinyon did and Cooper did, but it's a good thing. They were blank slates. Like, they don't have presuppositions on, I got to play this way, I got to play that way. They're just rookie players that are like doing what they're told. Yeah. So I think everything clicked this year for the Eagles. Everything.
Jeff, is Kevin Petula the right hire or the right guy?
It's tough for me because I want to go back to how close he was with Kellen Moore and how they integrated both their philosophies. And he took a lot from Kellen Moore. So if you want the continuity there with his ideas and Kellen Moore's offense, I would say yes. I don't have a problem with that, but I also think they also need to do their due diligence and actually look outside the organization.
which they'll do. What
Well,
do
they
you
have
think
to.
about a guy like Frank Reich,
Yeah,
Jeff?
yeah. Well, yeah, you have to. I don't know about Frank Reich.
I'm with you on it, but
I'm
he's a
I'm
popular
kind of
name. I keep hearing the name everywhere, so
I'm
I
kind of
feel you.
over Frank Reich. That was 7 years ago.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I get it, and he didn't even call plays here. I mean, not everybody.
This is what I love to tell people when they like to get nostalgic like that, like 7 years ago, whatever. What were you doing 7 years ago in your life? How much has your life changed in 7 years? Just
Oh
think
my
about
gosh.
that, and then go to that.
That's a good barometer, Jeff. My life 7 years ago was I was probably drunk in an Alabama.
Yeah, how old were you 7 years ago,
I was
Zander?
drunk on the Alabama campus 7 years ago, Jeff.
Yeah, the Frank Reich stuff is just that's a good word. People love nostalgia, man. They always want to go back.
You know who loves nostalgia? And again, big racing fan here. NASCAR fans love nostalgia. They love it, and they realize it's never coming back.
But Jeff, you're a NASCAR guy. We got one of our great viewers, one of our legend members here on JAKIB Sports. Dirty Air, his name is in the chat, but Gary Sexton, his name is. He is a videographer at the highest level for NASCAR.
That's
He
awesome.
sent me videos, and he says he's going to try and hook me up with some passes, but he gets right up next to the cars, man, with the video work. It's unbelievable. I really didn't realize how
I have
awesome.
so much respect for people in NASCAR media. You guys have no idea. Like the fact that you're basically on tour 38 weeks out of the year is just insane. I'm so excited for Sunday already.
Yeah, so Indy 500, right, on Sunday?
Daytona, Sunday.
Right? That's what it
Yeah,
was.
this is how much of a NASCAR fan I am. It's 8:00 last night, and what am I doing? I am watching single car qualifying.
There you
This
go.
guy's going around Daytona. I'm like, all right, let's go.
I love
Let's
it.
get the racing.
Nice, good stuff there, Jeff Kerr. Jeff, we appreciate it, man. I think we covered everything we needed to cover today. It's good to have you back on, man. We missed you the last couple of weeks here. You've become such a staple on Birds 365. The great people of JAKIB and Birds 365 love having you on. So we appreciate you doing it.
I do have to thank the fans. I really do. I do it every single year. I always thank everybody for reading my content, coming on here, whether we agree or disagree on something. That's the beauty of the world, right? Everybody has a different opinion.
I agree.
And we're all assholes for it.
I agree for that. And you have Jeff, you truly do have phenomenal coverage of really the whole NFL and the Philadelphia Eagles when you go down that road. And we appreciate you so much for doing it this year. It's been an honor to have you on all year, and we'll continue talking to you all through the offseason, Jeff. We appreciate it, man.
Yep, sounds great. Thanks for having me on again, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, bud.
Man.
And I got your charger. So if you're showing up today.
All right, so there you go, Jeff. Get your charger back from Johnny. He's a charger. Nobody likes a charger thief. All right, I'll tell you.
I'm not a thief. You left it.
No, you're not a thief. You're not a thief. You told him on air, so it's public for the world. You're not a thief, but I'm telling you, if you kept it, you'd be a thief. All right, great stuff there from Jeff, Johnny Mac. I thought we covered everything pretty well. Good journey, man, this year with Jeff and with everybody we've had on all year. I thought you, me, and Jeff recapped it pretty well.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we did it pretty well, but it is interesting, from the talk we had about perception versus reality. I think it's a lot different from what went on and a lot of things about this team. But the one thing that is reality is this was probably the best Eagles team that ever played, certainly in the modern era, in the Super Bowl era. You can argue, I always say Ray Diddy will go back to 1949, 1950. But
yeah, we had him on last night, Ray Diddy, on the night show.
Yeah, and I'm a big, you can only judge teams in their era, and that team was obviously great. And that's why I say modern era, because I can't go back that far. But this team was pretty impressive. And they have so many stars. I still think, and because Howie's been telling me and everybody else who covers this team for years, offensive line, defensive front. That's where it starts. And everybody else is going to get the accolades and the highlights and the love and the skill position people. Offensive line, defensive front. That's where they won the Super Bowl.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. I told you we had Ray Dinger on last night, and we had Merrill Reese on Tuesday, and both of them said this was the best Eagles team in history. And Ray did put in the caveat of I won't go to the 49 team and all of those teams, but no, in the modern era, for sure, this is the best Eagles team ever. So pretty unbelievable, John, what they were able to accomplish. And for all the things that we did discuss and for all the moments of you wanted more or you expected to see more, which I still think those are all fair conversations. Just because you win a Super Bowl doesn't mean that there wasn't conversation that was had merit, on some of the things that they didn't accomplish. But they did it, man. They overcame it. They become the best Eagles team in history, and they got the hardware to prove it. So ultimately, the journey was a crazy one, but they got to the end. They got to the finish line, and they deserve credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, this is in one of the best Super Bowl performances ever as well.
Yeah,
Jeff brought up because I was at that Super Bowl where the Seahawks destroyed the Broncos. That's one of them. Joe Montana and the 49ers won 55-10. That was one of them. But this was right there. This was top 5 performance. And you could argue if you didn't have those garbage time points, it would have been number 1 because it was 40-6 at one point. And, they just couldn't. First team this season, which I think is the craziest of all the stats, is the craziest Super Bowl stat. All the games played from week 1 through the Super Bowl. That was the first game, 9 consecutive possessions, and offense didn't cross into the opponent's territory.
It's crazy. And what was the time they did? It was like 3 minutes left in the third quarter, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's a big worthy pass when they kind of let up on the gas a little bit, but
right.
Unbelievable performance by that defense.
Really was, man. Vic Fangio deserves all the credit. And, I liked Vic quotes, John. I liked Vic's quote after the game where I forget what who the coach is.
Dean Smith.
Dean Smith. There you go. And the quote he gave was truly very Vic Fangio-esque. It reminded me of John McMullen, by the way, the quote. But I thought it was great. But I am happy for him to have such a great career. What is it, 39 years, I believe now, 39-year career. And to top it off with a Super Bowl. Not only a Super Bowl, but a Super Bowl in this fashion is very fitting for him. And pretty cool that he was able to accomplish that and go out with that. Not go out with it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, he's never won one before. But again, that was my argument the whole week, and I get it. That's sort of the microcosm the other way, and I hope people recognize that because I said all week, and I couldn't convince people in Philadelphia that Vic was better than Spags, and
you couldn't convince me before the game. You couldn't,
Yeah, well, he won 4 Super Bowls. I'm like, you're not always in a position to win a Super Bowl from a talent perspective.
Right.
Your goal as a coach is to get people better. And that's what, Vic was talking about with Dean Smith. And he said, it's a great accomplishment, but I'm the same coach now that I was yesterday.
Now I got a ring.
Yeah. It's a great accomplishment.
Yeah.
But he's always been the guy. He's, like I said, everybody copies him. They don't copy anybody else. Obviously there's a few back in the day. Tony Dungy, everybody copied Tony. Pete Carroll for a while. But in this era, everybody copies Vic. They don't copy Spags.
Right.
I warned everybody. And you saw the difference, I think.
No doubt about it.
And people talk about the Eagles on talent on defense, and it's phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. But, they got 2 rookies playing corner.
John, I went through this the other day. All right. I know everybody loves to call us a super team now. If you look at this team, almost every player on this team, all right, with the exception of a few, had their doubts. All right. Jalen Hurts was never supposed to be this good of a quarterback. A.J. Brown's a locker room cancer. Devontae Smith was too small when he got drafted. Nolan Smith was a bust. You brought it up yesterday. We were all saying that. I was saying that early in the year. Jalen Carter's a thug, shouldn't have been drafted, blah, blah, blah. You name it about him. Jordan Davis can't play. Cooper DeJean's a white cornerback. Quinyon Mitchell went to Toledo. They've all had their doubts. So, again, everybody has doubts. But it's not like you went out into this. Sometimes I think people outside of Philly talk about this Eagles team like we assembled this Avengers team in the in free agency. That's not what happened at all.
Well, they did offensively, but not defensively. And that's the irony of it all. The defense was actually better than the offense.
I don't know. I mean, A.J. Brown was a free agent and Saquon Barkley was no, A.J. wasn't a free agent. That was a trade. Saquon was a free agent, but the rest of the offense, most of them were drafted.
Well, no, I mean, they assembled an all-star team on offense. Nobody thought they were an all-star team on defense. Nobody. Most people, including myself, thought this might be the worst linebacker room in the NFL coming into this season.
It's incredible.
To expect two rookie corners to play like those two rookie corners did, and I brought up Cooper DeJean, number one for the PFF fan out there, which I'm sure he likes that one. CJ Reed, everybody looks at Reed. He's a white safety. Same thing. You can't play. He was undrafted.
Yeah, same thing. Okay, agreed.
CJ with his unique personality. Other than Jalen Carter, who has phenomenal talent, there were questions about everybody, and the questions about Carter were off the field, but everybody knows how gifted he is. That's we talked a lot about revision this week. That's a lot of revision. People thinking this defense. They were arguably the worst defense in football last year at the end of the season.
Yes. They couldn't stop a nosebleed.
They finished 28th or something like that, so near the bottom. But by the end, they were arguably the worst defense in the NFL.
And now they're
one year they turned it around and were the best defense in the NFL. So anybody saying, I knew that was coming. And Zach Ball's probably the best example. The Eagles didn't know it was coming. Zach Ball didn't know it was coming. It's one of my favorite quotes of the whole season. It's like, why are they putting that in my contract? A Pro Bowl incentive.
Right.
Why bother? Even Vic Fangio. Vic's the one who made the decision. And Vic was telling a great story the other week. It said, Zach kept talking in training camp. When am I going to get to rush the passer? Because that's what they brought him in for.
Right. Nobody
knew. Amazing story.
Yep, and it's very, for all Vic Fangio has done in his career. This is, I know obviously the success tints it maybe a little bit, but I view this as his most successful year in terms of what he did with this defense, the way he turned it around, the way he brought out a lot of these players. So pretty impressive stuff there. For those just checking in on the show, we appreciate it. Hit that like button, everybody. We got to get those likes up, all right? Eagles are Super Bowl champs. Hit that like button for us. We've been slacking a little bit on the likes. We appreciate all of you guys for being here. For those just checking in, today is clean out day. Eagles will be in there. They'll clean out the lockers. Johnny Mack and other reporters will be in there. They'll be able to get their last couple of questions. You already know the questions to Sweat and to Zach Bond and to Milton and to Becton are coming. All right, we'll see what they have to say about their free agency. We had Sal Pal on, John, and he said the number one free agent he wants them to sign is Josh Sweat. Now, I've been thinking Josh Sweat's as good as gone, but we'll talk about that a little bit. And for those also just checking in, we're 14 days away, okay, from the NFL Combine. 14 days away. We're 27 days away from free agency. What will Howie do in free agency this year? And we are 70 days away from the NFL draft and 203 days away from that Thursday night football opener. Already 203 days. So lock in, everybody. We appreciate it. We'll get to a couple super chats here, Johnny Mack, and then we'll get to a commercial break, and we'll wrap up the show on the other side of the break. Luke's dad checked in. That Sirianni parade speech is going to hit like crack. BG is a sleeper for best speech. BG should be good, and I think Jeff Kerr was right. I think Sirianni should be
I think it's Jordan Mailata.
You think John's got Mailata? We'll see. We'll see how it all unfolds tomorrow. Faisal A says J-Max F-bombs yesterday about the Jalen Hurts plan was epic. Yeah, we got a lot of comments about those, and we got a lot of comments about the F-bombs on the day before about Jalen Hunt. So we've had a couple days, Johnny Mack.
Exact reason why I think Jordan's going to have the best speech. People love F-bombs.
They do. Some people, it's a controversial thing. I get like I get like 20 emails and 20 comments on the channel yesterday. This was the greatest segment ever. And then you get like 5 of them who are like, what's up with all the cursing? This is not necessary. I watched this show with other people.
It
No,
is not.
okay.
It is not necessary. I will agree with that.
I agree.
I'll
But
try
sometimes,
to. I'll try to curtail the F bombs.
well, no, I don't. The one thing is, John, is I think people like our show because we both try and be real. All right. We're real humans. We talk like humans. When there's passionate moments, most people I know curse. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it sounds good, but that's what we do. I mean, yeah, I try and be real. I'm not going to curtail an F bomb.
By the way, Frank
I
Reich
got to
never.
drop an F bomb on Johnny Mac.
Frank Reich never curses ever.
Yeah, he's a
Got
better,
that kind of
better
discipline.
Christian than I am. All right.
No.
Brandon Lewis says, I saw and heard a former practice squad quarterback say they would have won that game with Will Levis. So, yeah, there are guys who think Jalen Hurts sucks. Well, Brandon, that is fucking ridiculous, but whatever. I mean, what do you want me to say?
Well, they might have won that specific game with Will Levis.
I don't know about that. Jalen Hurts
won
had
him
70 plus
no.
rushing yards in that game.
I'm saying that's how dominant the defense was.
Yeah.
I'm saying that specific game.
Yeah.
So it depends how you phrase it. They would have won that game with Kenny fucking Pickett. I'm cursing again. I broke my own. They were so. Again, you can't. The game's not going to go that way. But that's what people are talking about. I assume. I don't know who said that. If you, again, 280 whatever games, I forget the exact number. That was the first game of the entire season. 9 consecutive possessions. Didn't even get in Eagles territory. Now, if you take it further, you go, well, if Kenny Pickett's starting because Jalen was hurt, it's probably not going to be that way because, you're not going to be dominating offensively as well. Right. So the game's going to take on a different personality. I assume that's what he's talking about. They were so dominant that anybody's going to win that game, but it's not realistic because the game changes if you're playing with a backup quarterback.
No doubt. Good stuff there. Brandon, appreciate it. Mesmerized. What a season. Thank you guys for all the coverage and inside info. Top 5 shows, movies you watched recently. I guess Z is out of this question. I can give you a couple. John, why don't you go first?
Well, I haven't watched any. I don't watch anything during the season. Yeah, that's the problem. Now, afterwards, I know I'm a big Netflix guy. So basically, if they do a movie, I'm going to watch it. And some of them suck.
So I don't like movies. I watch a shitty movie. I get up and I'm like, what a waste of 2.5 hours.
But I'm going to start to pick up after this week and try to catch up on some shows. But I don't watch anything during the season.
All right, just give them a couple of your favorite shows, movies. What do you got? I'm curious.
What, in history?
I don't know.
I mean, I'll go Netflix.
Movie you've watched in the last year and a half.
The Diplomat, I haven't been able to watch. But I'll watch that. Night Agent, I haven't been able to watch. I'll watch that. And then The Recruits, they all came out. I haven't been able to watch that, and I'll watch that. So I'll catch up on all 3 of those shows.
There you
go. Which are all second season, I believe, shows. So I already watched the first seasons. So, yeah, there's a couple.
I'd go Sopranos. I know that's not recent, but that was my favorite show of all time. That was one show I watched and loved every episode. I'll give you a movie outside of Miracle. I know you guys know I love Miracle. I'll give you a movie. Fight Club. Who knows the movie Fight Club?
Sure, everybody knows the movie.
I don't know, John. I'm not entrenched in the movie world. I keep telling you guys that I watched that when I was younger. I loved that movie. I thought that movie had some deep meaning that I liked. All right, so that was a good movie. Mesmerized. Appreciate it, brother. Dank Bird Gang says, touchdown to Devontae might be the best throw in Jalen Hurts' career.
No, it's not. He said, you know how many throws he's made? That's what I'm talking about. You know how many throws he's made like that? You know why I advocated go routes during the week? Because he throws them so stinking well. When I was talking about the discussion we had earlier this season, he's always been good at those. That was a great throw. I'm not trying to disparage the throw. I'm just saying he's made throws like that in his career. How many AJ go routes have they hit on over the past 3 years? He's tremendous at it, which is why I'm surprised he never heard that. But yeah, that was a great throw. But he's had a lot of great throws in his career. A lot of great throws in his career.
I agree. That was a big one. You could argue that was a big moment.
Well, the stage and
Yeah,
doing
right,
it on the
stage.
Super Bowl and all that. But
yeah. Best
No.
throw, though, I don't agree with either. But it was an amazing throw, Dankberry. I must have watched that clip back a lot by now. Man in Black says Quintanamo Bay. Yeah, he had an amazing season, man. What a great rookie season for both Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. And even Jalix Hunt, who started to come alive late in the year. Really impressive stuff for him. So another good year of drafting, John, for Howie Roseman.
Yeah, 3 years in a row. But this year it didn't take any time.
It's really 4 years in a row, too.
Kobe took time. Nolan Smith took time. These guys took no time.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Number one, I was looking at that for your dad yesterday. Number one, Cooper DeJean. Now they keep going in the playoffs, so obviously they played so well in the playoffs.
Right.
Number one was Cooper DeJean. The defensive player of the year, Pat Surtain, was number two. He was better. And he's a slot corner, a little bit different. But Quinyon, number 7.
Crazy.
Two of the top 7 cornerbacks in football.
Yeah. And you mentioned 3 years. It's really been 4 years, John. 4 years ago, they drafted Devontae Smith, then Landon Dickerson in the second round, then Milton Williams.
Well, I mean defense. They want to rebuild the defense.
Yeah. Well, Milton as a third rounder was a pretty damn good pick, too.
Yeah. And Darius Slay, by the way, was 23rd, and Isaiah Rodgers was 24th. They had 4 of the top 24 corners in the NFL.
That's insane. That is wild.
Yeah.
Impressive stuff. Vic Fangio had been a big part of that. Abe says Vic started coaching in NOLA, and now he won a Super Bowl in NOLA. Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff in NOLA. Eagles lost the Super Bowl in New Orleans, wasn't it?
Vic didn't start. Vic started here with the Philadelphia Stars. That was his first NFL job, though. But Vic started here.
Am I wrong that the Eagles lost the Super Bowl in New Orleans, though? And was it 1980?
I don't remember where the 80 Super Bowl was, but I don't know.
I thought I remember the Eagles lost a Super Bowl. Maybe.
Well, they did lose that Super Bowl, but
yeah, Eagles Raiders, right? 81. Yeah, so it was the 80 season. Yep, Caesar Superdome. There you go. I thought the Eagles had lost one in New Orleans.
Yeah,
so there you go.
That tells you what a dump it is in 81. It is a decrepit dump. But I digress.
There you go. Man in Black checks in. What's up, Man in Black? Good to see you, brother. Lamar favored for next year's MVP so he can get bounced by Kermit the Frog again. Hurts season, I've been saying Hurts #1 for years. Well done, Man in Black. You can toot that horn all off.
Spike the football. Spike the football.
You know, John, there's going to be a lot of spiking all off season. Here we go. What's a show without a legendary Brian Pumper chat? Actually, Brian, on today's Zander time, I have a question that is specifically tailored for you, my friend. For you. So stay tuned. This dude Hurts is so damn tough. This guy's aura is so damn impressive. Swagger Muffin Hurts.
He is tough. I will say that. Yeah, he's a good quarterback. But again, quarterback evaluation is not exactly it's not exactly one of the things you point to and say, yeah, they're doing a good job. Yeah, it's a very misunderstood position. And I point everybody to Tom Brady. Put your team in the best position, play to play. Peyton Manning said the same thing. Those are the two best quarterbacks of their particular generation, 2 of the best ever. And they both said the same thing. How they judge themselves. Now, they're not talking about touchdowns. They're not talking about yards. They're not talking about passer rating. They're not even talking about wins. Because a lot of things go into all that. Put your offense in the best position to succeed each and every play. The more you do that, the better you're going to be.
No doubt about it. Luke's dad checks in. J-Mac, who do you feel like if we sign Bond, then Mekhi is the only available other option? Would Milton be too expensive if Bond is signed?
I I think Milton might be too expensive anyway.
regardless. Yeah.
Milton is the most expensive of the Eagles free agents, for those who don't
You
understand
think
that.
even more than Sweat?
Yes. Yes. It is a position the NFL pays, excuse me. It is a position. He's 25 years old, coming off his rookie contract. That's exactly when you want to strike in free agency.
Right.
He didn't play a lot his first 2 years, so he doesn't have a lot of tread off the top. He's exactly what you want in free agency. Exactly. But mainly the position. They are willing to pay big money for interior defensive linemen. And they're willing to pay for edge rushers as well. That's a high profile position. But Josh is older. He's got more injury concerns. So a lot factors into it. Milton Williams, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I got to come on the show every day. Of the four, I guarantee you he gets the biggest contract.
Milton, yeah, I think you're right about that. How about Stout yesterday, who said he thinks that the number one guy the Eagles need back is Josh Sweat over Ball. And it's, he says the edge rushers are premium position. You need one. They're thin. And, he wants them to go and get Josh Sweat. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's a premium position, but I think the Eagles foreshadowed their move last year when they forced Josh to take a pay cut, which I think
I agree,
is not the best way to move forward.
Yeah.
So
he's going to go maximize his earnings now.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very premium position. And they'll put a lot of assets into getting, obviously the home run is Myles Garrett, and then nobody cares. But whether it's a draft pick, whether it's a free agent, they'll add multiple bodies at edge rusher.
Yeah, I got Bond as my number one as well as some people in the chat. I think Bond is my top priority, John, because I think you have most of your defense is not solidified fully, but you have guys that are staples on the defensive line. You have Nolan Smith, you have Jordan Davis, you have Jalen Carter returning, you have your entire secondary under contract for next year outside of Darius Slay. The only spot on that defense, the only level of that defense where there's major uncertainty is the linebacker position. So I think that the Kobe Dean injury is also another thing that's probably that might force Howie's hand a little bit on that. So we'll see what they end up doing there with all those free agents.
Yeah, you got to consider bringing Oren Burks back. He's a great story. Nobody, I mean, wow. Yeah. Well, he played so well down the stretch.
So well. I think another credit to Vic, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, Vic's a big part of this, no doubt about it. But he will tell you, he'll be the first to tell you, I'm not playing. Those guys are playing. Yeah, but he is, I think, and I saw somebody write about it, and I feel one of the national guys, and I'm glad they wrote about it, but I feel like I've been saying it for months. It's not the scheme, it's the teaching. There's so many people that run Vic's scheme,
right,
but they don't teach it like he does. And that to me is the difference. And he made it almost to a man. You could probably argue Avonte Maddox, even he made a play in the Super Bowl. Almost to a man, everybody was better than what they were before with Vic Fangio. Every single person.
Which brings up the biggest question of the of the year, of maybe this offseason. Maybe not the biggest. That's a hyperbole. What the hell happened to Bryce Huff, and does he have any chance at being a contributor on this football team moving forward? I mean, John, you had him having a big season this year, man. I mean,
yeah, I didn't get that one right. Me and Howie, we didn't get that one right.
No, yeah, and look, that's fine. We've all had our share of wrong, but holy shit, he was a nothing burger. Like, he was so bad he was scratched, the healthy scratch in the Super Bowl. He was a nothing burger. Will he be anything moving forward?
Well, he's going to get another opportunity. Will Howie spoke to us before they went down to New Orleans about small group of reporters, and he was asked about Huff. And I'm trying to bring up my quotes, and I'll say exactly what he said. I think this story is yet to be written on Bryce. Now I'm stubborn, he said. I understand that. I'm stubborn on a lot of things. Compared him to Javon Hargrave's first year in Philly, coming over from the Steelers. But, I thought he overreached there because while Javon didn't take off until his second year in Philadelphia, he was still good in his first year. He just wasn't as splashy as expected. Whereas Bryce, as he said, gave him nothing. So I thought he overreached that. And, he got hurt. I think people dismissed that like it wasn't a big deal. And especially for an edge rusher, you need your hands. And how he said when he got hurt, he was starting to come on. And for him to use his hands and be able to throw that, obviously it was bothering him. That's why he ended up having the surgery. But I've seen it. It's a little different for me in free agency with those kinds of signings than it is maybe with draft picks in terms of you've seen it against guys in the NFL and do things well. And I believe in the player. That's what Howie said. And he's right to the point of you have seen it at the NFL level. He was a good pass rusher with the Jets.
Yeah. And
now the problem is, and for all the accolades I give Vic, and I think people who know this, I give him a lot of accolades. He's stubborn too. And I think he said, "No, this is not what I want." And he kind of gave up on him. And sometimes, he's got to open up his mind probably because you're not going to cut him. You're not going to trade him. So you got to get something
You're
from
going to tell Vic to open up his mind. He just had the #1 defense in the NFL. Looks like he made the right damn decision.
Yeah, but that's not the point. He's not going to have Josh Sweat next year. He's not going to have Brandon Graham next year. So, if you get Myles Garrett, great. If you get a rookie at 32, great, and it turns into something. But if you need them, you need them.
Here comes Jalix. Here comes Jalix.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Jalix didn't play at all until he had to play.
Yeah.
Now,
in a way, John, the Huff stinking out loud and Brandon Graham's injury. I mean, when you look for silver linings, there was clear silver linings there. Nolan Smith became the guy he is now. And I think we're all pretty optimistic about what he can be in the future. And Jalix Hunt had a chance to get on the field and he looked good. He looked good. He made an impact. He looked like he could be a guy in this defense in the future. And I think those are two great things that you got this year versus if Brandon never goes down and Bryce Huff is a half decent player, you might not know what you have there. So I think that's a good silver lining. Nolan really became a good player because of those.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, Nolan, forget about Jalix. Nolan wasn't playing that much before Brandon's injury.
Right.
And who knows?
I was calling him a bust. I thought he was.
And who knows if Bryce Huff doesn't tear the ligament in his thumb, he might have not played then. I do think, to Howie's point, he wasn't as bad as people thought before he got hurt. He gave him some good snaps, good reps.
Huffle Schnufflegus, Howie's trying to sell us on him.
No, it's just a matter of, people, again, you're going, and that's fine. But if you look at the tape, he wasn't that bad before he got hurt. Now, he wasn't what they brought him in to be.
No.
There's the difference. Jody and I used to have that discussion. Expectations versus reality.
I just think it sucks because, he was such a good he was a rotational piece in New York, right? He wasn't the starter guy there. So, and he was very productive. I thought when he would get into that rotational role in Philly, he might be able to find some rhythm. But even then, John, he didn't seem to find anything. I mean, look, I know you just told me that he wasn't that bad. I think he was pretty freaking bad. I mean, I
know, but you can't convince people.
Was he bad or not? Are you telling me he wasn't bad this year, John? They healthy scratched him for the Super Bowl.
Again, the expectations. Derek Barnett, Jody and I told him he's a good NFL player. not good when he's the 14th pick in the draft. There's the difference. Bryce Huff, a $51 million contract. No, he didn't give them what they wanted to. But was he a bad football player before he got hurt? No.
Well, even at a half that contract, you're benching a guy and healthy scratching a guy in the biggest moment of the year. Doesn't that tell you all you need to know?
Yeah, but he's not a healthy scratch. He was playing through an injury.
In the Super Bowl, John?
Yes, he was. He came back because he was trying to come back, and guys try to come back. And at that point, he wasn't playing well. Forget about post-injury. I'm talking about pre-injury. In fact, I'm going to look it up right now. I don't even know, but I'm going to look it up.
Like, what are you talking? Like first 6 weeks of the year?
Yeah, basically. He was a competent player. Now, for what they signed him for, no. All right, here it is. Eagles edge rushers on the season.
Brandon Graham, PFF?
Yeah, Brandon Graham, 19th. Very good. Brandon Graham's a phenomenal fucking player, by the way. Nolan Smith, 27th. Josh Sweat, 36th. Bryce Huff, 39. Jalix Hunt, 42. Charles Harris, 99, but that Chuck was most of that was in Carolina. Barely played here. So there you have it. He did not play as poorly as people bring it out. He just didn't. It's one of those, because of the expectations. And I'm part of that. I thought he'd be a double-digit sack guy. Obviously, how he thought he'd be a double-digit sack.
Yeah, you paid him $17 million.
He didn't. It didn't even come close to living up to the expectations, and that's why I make the Derek Barnett comparison. But if you just look at the film pre-injury, pre when he got hurt against Jacksonville in pregame, and he had to have surgery, so they're not making it up. He had surgery. And he played with a big cast on his hand when he came back. If you talk about that, he wasn't terrible. I think that is completely unfair. But clearly did not live up to expectations. And the Eagles may have to need him to become something next season, depending on what they can do at that position. Because I don't think Josh is going to be back.
If I'm Vic and Howie's coming, Howie and Vic set up their meeting that they want to talk about defensive players and personnel. Maybe they're going to talk about some things. I'm not saying Vic's going to make the decision. If I'm Vic, all right, I'm having the Super Bowl film on repeat in my office, and I'm saying, come on in, Howie. I don't want this fucking dude. Get him out of here. I need this guy, and this guy. You bring him back, all right?
I don't think that's the case. Vic's been around for 40 years. He understands the business.
Vic's earned some cachet, though, to be able to have a say in this process.
Yeah, but you're assuming the Super Bowl again, pre-injury. Not post-injury, pre-injury.
I'm not talking about the Super Bowl. I think the whole body of work was pretty poor.
All right. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it for the PFF haters that hate when they gave him a pretty good grade.
Yeah, I mean, look, the contract definitely goes into it, but I just didn't see it with the guy. We'll see what ends up happening with him, John. I do want to get into one final thing here.
And they hate the Eagles. Remember, PFS hates the Eagles, and they gave him a pretty good grade.
I don't know what the hell to think of that. Is Kellen any update on Kellen and what he's doing in terms of staff building? I think there's a sense of concern in the air that he might be calling Clint Hurd or a Christian Parker or a Bobby King or one of our great position coaches to try and go over there and man his defense.
Yeah, he's going to hire Brandon Staley. So
you think so?
Yeah.
His first mistake as a head coach.
Yeah, I agree with it. But, part of it is I think Kellen want to be very, Nick talked about that before he went to the Super Bowl. And he doesn't like giving up his assistants. And I think Kellen is showing some deference there. Now, I imagine the Eagles will allow Doug Nussmeier to go. They might allow Kyle Valero to go because they're the two guys that came in with Kellen. So that's just a guess, though. And then offensive coordinator, the most interesting early process. He hired an offensive line coach already. He ain't getting Jeff Stoutland. And he the guy he worked with the Chargers. So yeah, that's the thing about these head coaches. You don't get to take the people with you. So not only you're not going to have Jeff Stoutland in New Orleans.
Yeah, it was interesting how I thought Nick answered that question. He's like, "This is my head. This is my staff." I thought that was a nice response from Nick Sirianni talking
Well, he
about
said
that.
the same thing when Shane
Right,
and Jonathan left, but in the case of Jonathan, he did get Nick Rollis, who Nick didn't want to lose, but
right.
you
How's Nick
can't.
Krause doing there with him?
They've been fine. I think most people look at them as saying they're overachieving, but the reality of the NFL, this will be the third year, so they need to make a run towards the playoffs. But they've been good defensively, I would say overall, especially considering what people perceive to be their talent level. But Nick certainly didn't want to lose Nick Rollis, but you can't prevent people from becoming coordinators. So,
Right.
yeah, if Kellen wanted to make one of those guys the defensive coordinator, he could with no, but maybe has some respect for Nick Sirianni and what he's done for him, getting him a head coaching job. Maybe that factors into it as well. I'm not a big Brandon Staley fan, but he is more highly known in the league than, Clint Hurt or certainly Christian Parker and Bobby King. So, I mean, far more high profile. So maybe you just wanted him. But the one you got to worry about is Patullo, because they got very close.
Yeah,
And if the Eagles aren't going to give him,
force the hand on the Eagles.
yeah, if the Eagles aren't going to give him the coordinator job, he just might leave. Sometimes you have to leave to do. Staley did that back in the day,
Yeah.
hoping to become an offensive coordinator because he was sort of pigeonholed in this organization. Never worked out for him, but he felt he had to leave to take that next step. Kevin might feel that way as well, but we'll see how it works out.
Good stuff, Johnny Mac. John, great show today. A couple minutes left on the show. I thought we recapped Super Bowl week pretty good. We got a lot of stuff ahead already. 14 days away from the NFL Combine. I can't wait to dive into more of the draft stuff. I find that stuff very enjoyable. We'll get Ian Cummings back on the show. Some of our great Rick Saratella will get back up. We'll get some of our great draft people on the show. Just 27 days away from free agency. 14 days away from the Combine, 70 days away from the NFL Draft. So a lot of stuff upcoming, Johnny Mac. And if I already know what our Monday show next Monday is going to be after this weekend. So I'm looking forward to getting into all of those things. Some of your final thoughts on this Thursday edition of Birds 365 before the big parade tomorrow.
Yeah, I wish we could get through the parade, but everybody enjoy it. Not my cup of tea, but everybody enjoy
Our
it.
show tomorrow is tentative. I will say that right now.
Well, there's gonna be 1 million people down there.
Yeah.
Everybody enjoy it, but hopefully, we can get to the off season on Monday. But I know we'll have to talk about it a little bit. But
we'll talk about it a little bit, but my topic is mainly off season. On Monday, we'll set the stage for what the off season looks like. All right, there's a lot of stuff upcoming. I just gave you some of the dates, so we'll set the stage on what that looks like. Some of the checklists that the Eagles have to get to, and that should be pretty good. So, John, good stuff today. I thought Jeff Kerr was great. As always, I love talking to. Oh, I got a super chat here before we get out of here. Let me get to that. Kenny says, "Do you think they're high on Byron Young at defensive end?"
Well, he's a defensive tackle. Do I think they're high on him? I mean, they brought him in. He was the 3rd round pick, Alabama guy. Didn't play this season. Got hurt with a hamstring. That was more stashing him, I would say. So he'll get a chance at training camp next year. He's got some talent. I think it was the 70th pick in the draft. He's an undersized, but he's a defensive. He's an interior guy. He's not a defensive end. Byron Young, you might be confusing. There's a Byron Young on the Rams that's more of an edge rusher. This is the Byron Young that was on Las Vegas, and the Eagles picked him up on waivers when he got at the end of training camp when he was waived by the Raiders. The Eagles claimed him August 29th, so right at the cut down. And he didn't play, but they kind of stashed him. So he'll get a chance in training camp. But the Eagles are deeper at defensive tackle than they are on the edge, at least projected, even with losing Milton Williams, I would say. But if they do lose Milton, but he'll get every chance. And he's got, when you're the 70th pick in the draft, you got some talent.
No doubt about it. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, great show today, brother. Enjoy whatever you got going on today. Well, you're going down, so we'll be looking for your reports. Make sure you guys follow John at JF McMullen on his Twitter. I'm sure he'll be putting some stuff up on there from Clean Out Day. So it is Clean Out Day at the Eagles facility. The players will be cleaning out their lockers, and we'll get some updates from some of the players, their final thought. Poor Jalen Hurts. This guy hasn't got the bed once since he won the fucking Super Bowl. He's on The View. He's on the morning show. He's on this. He's on that. He's on Fallon. I'm like, holy shit. His social battery's got to be completely fried.
And I guarantee Jalen's going to keep us waiting until 7 o'clock at night if I know Jalen.
Oh, man. If I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm going home after that parade, man, and I'm not going to be seen for a couple of weeks. But we will see. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Great show today, brother, and we'll catch you tomorrow on Birds 365. I'll text you and keep you posted on what I got going on for the parade.
All right. Thanks, everybody, and enjoy the parade. Enjoy it.
Safe,
Spike the football. And be safe. Be safe.
All right. Thanks, Johnny Mac.
See ya.
All right, there's John McMullen joining us here on Birds 365. I got a good topic for you guys before I get out of here, and I do want to discuss the parade. I'm working on some things for the parade. I don't know who's going down to the parade. Who is going to the parade? We talked about it a little bit yesterday. All right, if you're going, the first thing I'm going to say is please be safe. All right, don't be one of the knucklehead Eagles fans that's just causing havoc. All right, have respect for the people, the local law enforcement, the city officials. All of the contractors who are out there to try and make it an environment that's safe for everybody. All right, please, if I ask you of one thing, it's be respectful of those people. Don't be a hooligan. All right, don't be a head case. Jason Fairchild is going to be down there. Our Artist Returns is coming from DC area. All right, so I have a meeting today, everybody. I have a meeting today at City Hall. All right. I am meeting with city officials today. I am trying to get set up a broadcast in the morning before the parade starts. All right. Now, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know. I'd love to have a bunch of JAKIB members come up. All right. It would be a boxed off area. I just have to get approval from the city. So, I'm not WIP. All right. WIP pays $10 million a year to the Philadelphia Eagles so that they can have a tent. People. It's not so simple, all right? You got to go through the city and all these different things. So I'm going to try and do what I can, but again, I'm not WIP. I'm not going to be able to get front row seating like they are. They pay $10 million to get that. So that's not going to be us, but I would love to get a crew of people, and I will keep you guys updated on that. I have like I said, I got the meeting today. They're either going to approve it or they're going to tell me no. Okay. And if they tell me no, then I will be down there and I will just be kind of recording content and doing some stuff like that and taking it all in and enjoying the day with everybody. All right. I have a topic though for everybody before we get out of here today. I have a great topic for everybody. Eduardo, I did see that email. I'm going to respond to you today. All right. I'm going to respond to you today when I get off here. I'm just trying to figure out, Eduardo, what my plan is. City Hall, I think, is a good spot to meet. All right. The question would be, I wasn't at the 18 parade, so you guys have to tell me. If we meet at City Hall, are we going to be able to get down to the speeches? That's the question. All right, that's the question. Matt, if you think I'm going to blow away, no, wait till you see what I would. If City Hall, if the city approves what I'm going to do, you guys are going to be blown away with what I have potentially planned. I mean, it almost gives me agita to think about what I could be doing tomorrow. All right. In the cold in the morning in the city of brotherly love. All right. G Santos, this is a tough question, brother. See, G Santos, I have a very good setup. All right. Cause I'm right north of the city. I'm 2 miles off of Broad Street. So the way I'm set up, I have multiple ways in. All right. I could go all the way down and I can go in through by the zoo, off of Girard Avenue, go in that way, come up the back street. I got a bunch of connections from people in the city that told me where I can park. So a lot of people can't drive because they don't. You come in from New Jersey, man, you're in a little bit of a nightmare. I can go around. I could go up Broad. I could jump on the subway at Fern Rock. I have a lot of different options, so I'm figuring that up. Long walk from City Hall to the Art Museum. Yeah, Joe, it just depends. Like, what's more important? Like, what do people care about more? Do they want to see the parade, or is the best spot to be at the Art Museum? I don't know. Maybe it is the Art Museum. Maybe that's where everybody wants to set up. All right. Maybe that's where everybody wants to set up. All right. Here's my topic for us in post show. All right. And I want everybody to answer. I get a lot of comments. Oh, Zander, there was times when you doubted Jalen Hurts. I'm like, yeah, get in fucking line. All of you. All right. I am the all-seeing eye of JAKIB. I see all of your guys' comments. So many people comment to me and like, oh, you doubted at one point. I'm like, bro, we're Eagles fans. What do you think? We just come in at every moment and say, hey, we're going to win every game. We're going to win the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. No. I have a question for the great people of JAKIB Nation. Brian Pumper, are you here? Brian Pumper, are you here? Is Brian here? Is Brian Pumper here? He left, didn't he? That motherfucker. All right, this is my question for everybody. And I'd like responses in the chat. Are you now a Jalenite? If you are an Eagle fan, if you have ever looked at QB1 and said, oh, I love him, but can he get us over the top? Are you now a Jalenite? Are you a Jalenite? Answer the question, all of my great Eagle fans. Are you a Jalenite? Joe Whip, of course. Big Trag, hell yeah. Abe, yes. Ryan, nah, he still sketches me out. Jason A-Team, I've always been a Jalenite. Dank Bergang, I'm glad I stayed a Jalenite because some of y'all were ready to put us in a psych ward. I've said love Jalen. Flexing and stepping, I am. Chuck Hutton, hell yeah. Bird Gang Girl, not necessarily. Primo, always was. Josh B, no, I don't want to be hurt again. All right, I'm going to tell you guys what I am. I am a fucking Jalenite. I am a Jalenite. I fucking love this kid. I love this kid. I love this kid. Every time I listen to him, and I did a segment the other night with Krause, all right, my father, and we did it standing up, and he brought up such a good question to me because I talk to John and Cilio every day. They don't ask me these kind of questions. They don't understand my life like that, like my dad does, obviously. And my dad brought up a question. He's like, dude, you've been with Jalen Hurts his entire career. And for those who don't know, all right, I was a freshman at Alabama when Jalen was a freshman at Alabama. I was in Dallas for the Alabama Crimson Tide season opener when Jalen Hurts was a true freshman. Nick Saban had never started a true freshman quarterback in his illustrious career. That day in Jerry's World in Dallas, I was in the stadium. Jalen Hurts comes trotting onto the field, and we're all like, what the hell? Who was this? We thought it was going to be Blake Barnett. All right. Jalen Hurts walks out. I watched him go 26-2 at Alabama. I watched him hoist the national championship when Tua took over from. I watched him lose in the national championship to Deshaun Watson and Clemson the year prior. I watched him transfer to Oklahoma, and I loved him when he transferred to Oklahoma. I followed his entire year at Oklahoma. All right. I watched him finish second in the Heisman voting. I watched him get drafted to the city of brotherly love. I returned home when he was drafted to Philly. So it's kind of weird how we line up. We're the same age, and I've seen it all through his career. I fucking love this kid, man. I love this kid. I absolutely love him. I really do. And I know many of you are going to be like, oh, well, they win the Super Bowl. Of course now you love him. Well, Sometimes you have to be shown things in order to really speak it. All right. And I'll say this. I've been growing as an on-air host, as an on-air personality. And I think there was moments this year where I was not yet comfortable, right? This is my first year in the hosting chair. I'm talking to John McMullen, who's been covering football a lot longer than I have. I'm talking to Dan Cilio, who's been around the game for 40 years, played at the highest level. You know, and at times I don't think I was fully confident in what I believed. And I allowed some of their opinions, and I'm not saying their opinions were wrong or anything, but I allowed some of that to seep in to what I thought, right? Cilio knows better. He's been around this game longer than I. Who am I to know? John knows better. He's covered more football than I have. How would I know more than John, right? And I think there was a level of that in some of my season coverage when I look back on it. And I will let that happen no longer because I don't give a shit what it looks like. I don't give a shit about passing yards. I don't give a shit about any of those things anymore. I am done ever believing that any of those things matter. Okay? I really am. I'm done believing any of those fucking things matter. You look at the way this kid carries himself. You look at the way this kid shows up in the biggest moments. You look at the camaraderie of the football team. All right? You look at the way the team is bought in and the way they play for the man next to him. His mindset, some of his approach to the game, to life, to being a leader, to being a champion. I love the kid. I really do. I think he's inspiring. I think he is wise. I think he's well beyond his years. And I think he's the greatest leader, greatest quarterback we've ever had in this city. Now, I'm a young fan. I know many of you guys have seen Rockin' Randall Cunningham. I loved Cunningham just from the highlights I watched from him. When I was a kid, he was the guy I loved to watch. Michael Vick was one of my favorite quarterbacks growing up as an Eagle fan. There's a lot about this kid that I look at, man, and I'm like, holy shit. You know, he's built different. He's built different, man. He's got the it factor. He has the it factor. You go back and you look at Tom Brady, all right? And I know nobody wants to compare people to Tom Brady. Greatest of all time, 7 rings. I get it, all right? 10 Super Bowl appearances. I know. Tom Brady was not the most talented player. Tom Brady was never the most talented player. Ever. Never. And I look at what made Brady great, and I look at the intangibles and some of the things that Brady did to become the greatest of all time. And I look at Jalen and I see so much of that. I see so much. I'm not disrespecting 5, Callie. I'm not trying to disrespect McNabb. All right. I'm not trying to disrespect McNabb. I'm simply trying to show, I'm trying to give Jalen Hurts credit. All right. I'm trying to give Jalen Hurts credit. And I look at what made Brady great. I look at what made some people champions in life. It wasn't always talent. It wasn't arm ability. It wasn't I can throw the ball with the best of them. It wasn't that my ego's bigger than everybody's. It wasn't those things. That's not what made people consistent winners and consistent champions. It's not. I don't need to see anymore. I don't. I've seen it all from Jalen Hurts. He's fully 100% convinced me. I think this organization as it stands right now is in such good hands with him and maybe even with Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman that I truly believe another Super Bowl is coming to the city of brotherly love soon. All right. I truly believe another Super Bowl will be won here. And if the stars align and things work out for this team, which you have to admit there is an element of that, right? You look at injuries and some of those things that, things have to go your way. I think this kid's going to win multiple Super Bowls in Philadelphia. I really do. I think this kid's going to win multiple Super Bowls in Philadelphia. All right. I really do. RMP says I've been uncilioized. I don't think I was ever cilioized. I just think that there was an element of doubt that I allowed myself to believe where as great as Jalen is, as good as the intangibles are, will the arm and some of those things hold him back from being a champion? and I allowed that to seep in. And look, I don't think it's unfair. Like I said, it's my first year doing content. All right. I've always been a very confident person in my life. I've never doubted who I am, what I believe, why I believe it, and where I'm going in life. I've always been very confident. And I don't say that, with arrogance. I just say that to the type of person I am. When I came on content, it was a learning curve. There was a period of me not being comfortable in the host chair, me trying to appease people, me trying to make sure people like me for whatever reason it was, right? You come into a new era, a new element of who you are as a person. There's a growth process. There's a growth process. And I think some of that was jaded by, believing the other shit, believing some of the other shit. And now you look at it, all right, and it's easy. Oh, it's always easy to look back in hindsight. I understand that. All right, I agree with that. I understand that. But this kid's impressive. And, I see Brian Pumper in the chat. I never know if Brian Pumper is trolling or not, but I think this kid deserves all the credit he's going to get. All right, I think he does. I think there's something about him that leads you to winning football games, that leads you to being a championship contender year in and year out. I think there's something about him that players want to play with him. Players want to fight for him. All right. He's not trolling. He's most likely trolling. That's all right. I enjoy Pumper. Yeah, I'm proud of Jalen. I am. I think he deserves everything he's got coming for him. He deserves the fame, the hype, the ring, everything. So that was my question. Are you now a Jalenite? And I think most of you guys answered it. Again, I've seen all the comments, so most of you fools can't get past me. All right, I know what you've commented in the past. Everybody's had their fair share of questions as Eagles fans. I mean, we got one Super Bowl in how many years? It's fair to wonder. All right, it's fair to wonder. But he's earned it. He's earned it absolutely. And I'm officially a Jalenite. Arthur, you've been with QB1. That's correct. You have. You were one commenter I can say you've never doubted. Dang, Bird Gang. There is probably an element of truth. You go back to when I said he was handsome and everybody had an aneurysm. Ladies love Jalen. Men hate that ladies love Jalen. That shit doesn't bother me. I don't understand. We got a lot of fragile people in the world. I'll say that. A lot of fragile people in the world. This is troubling. Jalen has turned into Barack Obama. We may lose him to the Democratic Party. Don't allow that to happen, Keith. Don't allow that to happen. We need him here in Philly playing great football. All right? Playing great football is what we need. No, but seriously, in all seriousness, I am proud of him. I think what he's done, what he's overcome, the way he's led this football team, the way he's played in the biggest moments, he deserves all the credit. He deserves all the accolades. He deserves everything that's coming his way. All right. And he'll still call it rat poison. That's what I love most about him. All right. Just like the hate was rat poison, the love is rat poison too for him. He understands he's got to keep working, keep grinding, keep growing as a player. And he's going to continue to do that. Dank Bird Gang checks in. I gained a ton of respect on how he acted when he got benched. First one to greet to on the sidelines was Jalen Hurts. Dank Bird Gang, did you happen to see the clip that was floating around? I retweeted it on my Dirty Air. I saw him. Dirty Air, I gave you a shout out earlier on the show to Jeff Kerr for those videos. I never responded to you. I'll respond to you today. Those videos were sick. They were sick, Dirty Air. Jeff Kerr is a big NASCAR guy, so I was giving you a shout out to him. But back to my point. I retweeted a video, Dank Bird Gang. I'm not sure if you caught it. And it's Jalen Hurts being interviewed on the field after they won the national championship in the game that he got benched. And you listen to the way he handled that, all right? You listen to the way this guy handled that. It's second to none. You can see that this motherfucker is built different. He's wired different. He really is. He's got that it factor. He's got that ability. Even as a 19-year-old kid in that moment to say he did his thing. He came in here and did exactly what this team needed, and now we're national champ. What would Carson Wentz have done? Not to rip on Carson Wentz, because I'm not a Carson Wentz hater, but not everybody's built the same. So when I say he's built different, you're like, what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. How would 95% of other quarterbacks responded and handled an interview after being benched at halftime and watching your backup throw? By the way, I'm an Alabama football fan. That's Bryant-Denny Stadium up there, okay? That's Bryant-Denny Stadium up there on my wall, all right? One of the most famous plays now in Alabama history, it's called 2nd and 26. You know what 2nd and 26 means? Tua Tagovailoa in overtime versus the University of Georgia in the national championship. He comes out. You need a touchdown to win or a field goal to tie. Tua Tagovailoa takes a 16-yard sack on first down. A 16-yard sack. It was 2nd and 26. Up the sideline goes Devontae Smith. He catches the touchdown pass from Devontae Smith or from Tua Tagovailoa, and the Alabama Crimson Tide are national champions once again. National champions once again. Jalen Hurts watched that happen from the bench after leading his team the last 2 seasons to a 26-2 record. Think about that. 26-2. You get benched and your backup brings you the title. And Jalen Hurts responded to those questions. I encourage everybody to go and look up the interview. I retweeted it on my page a couple of days ago. I would encourage you to go and watch it. This dude's built different. All right. This dude's got a different sense about him, a different mindset, a different approach, a different mentality that allows him to operate the way he does. And it's impressive and it deserves kudos and credit. Junior says, I've been watching Hurts Super Bowl speech edits since Sunday. You and me both. You and me both. It feels like every time the Duke talks, he gives a piece of wisdom. Gives a piece of wisdom. You know, some NFL put up something. I don't know where the speech was. I don't know when Jalen said this. But I was listening to this. I was listening to this yesterday, and I'll see if I can play the audio for you here. I don't want to get flagged. All right. So I'm not showing it on screen. All right. I'm not going to get flagged. But there was something I posted up yesterday, and you can listen to the audio over it.
Less about the results, the journey, and less about the results. Obviously, we're going to be judged for results, and that's for everyone else to talk about. But the journey is what builds us and makes us who we are. And when you play a team sport like we play, so many things are built. So many lives are changed, all from the energy and efforts that are put into it. So to be able to bring a championship back to Philadelphia means everything.
Just a comment like that about what it means to bring the championship to Philadelphia. I mean, such wise words. It's about the process. And I understand that this is a game where we'll be judged by our results. But we don't focus on those results. We focus on the process and the journey of getting there. Kid is a smart dude, bro. Kid is a smart dude. He really is. Impressive. Brian Fleming checks in. What's up, Brian? If we're reflecting, Z, you're a fucking dog. Thanks, Brian. You don't have to tell me that, man. I appreciate all you guys. I really do. I love all you guys, man. You guys are like my family. You really are. The amount of work you put in, how this channel has evolved, and the community being more savage than ever. The giveaways rated. This run was made amazing by Jake. It was made by Jake. Thank you, man. Brian, I always say this is one of the best years of my life. Not because of the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. Not because of any of those vanity metrics. It's because of what we accomplished and what we were able to build here on JAKIB. And it's not me. It's not about me. I promise you guys, I could come on here every day. I could talk to nobody. I could go back and forth with nobody. Nobody could be a member. Nobody could be there to receive my giveaways. You guys could punch out and watch NFL Network or ESPN. All right. So I appreciate your words, man. I do. I really do. I appreciate it so much, but it ain't all about me. All right. It's not all about me. I promise you that. All right. That's why I try and do the giveaways, because I thank you guys so much for showing up here every day and for supporting this channel and this network and what I do. And I do appreciate it. I appreciate it more than you know. I appreciate it more than I could put into words, but I don't want to bore you with that. And I just hope you guys know that. All right. and I can't control what you know or what you perceive. All right. Another quote from the show today. Your perception is not my reality. One of my yearbook quotes back in high school. Your perception is not my reality. And I enjoy it. I'm enjoying it, man. I really am. So I appreciate you guys so much. All right. I appreciate all you guys. Thank you, thank you all. And Brian, thank you for the super chat, man. That was really cool of you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it. All right. Speaking of giveaways, actually, I spoke to Tony yesterday. He's been bogged down. And I've been bogged down. But I am going to be picking up more jerseys on Saturday. Okay. So we'll have a bunch of giveaways to do next week. I'm hoping that they'll have the Super Bowl patch on them. All right. I'm hoping that they'll have the Super Bowl patch on them. So he's working on that for me now. I'll be able to go on Saturday and pick those up. So we'll have a lot of fun next week on the show. All right. We'll have Zander times every day. Going to be back to doing giveaways probably every single day. I wish I could have done it this week, the week after the Super Bowl, but I had nothing and I was too damn busy to go and get it. I had so much stuff going on, everybody. So I apologize. And I will do that. All right. Super Bowl patch or bust. Arthur, I'm working on it. But you're not even a member. You're not even a fucking member. You want to tell me what I can give away? You're not even a fucking member. Come on, man. Come on, man. I appreciate you, Arthur. Look at Ryan. He canceled his membership. He's like, I'm not winning. I'm canceling. Ryan, you're not even a member. You're disqualified. This is a good question. Artist returns. What's a good spot in the city parade route to get some Eagles merch? I'm sure you're gonna have a bunch of people selling shit. Like you have the stadium guys. Probably a bunch of people selling some knockoff shit. Yeah, but I don't know. Listen. I'm an official merch kind of guy. All right, that's what I like. I know it's not for everybody. I understand that. I love official merch. All right. I went into the Eagles shop. I drove to the Plymouth meeting one because I knew the city one was going to be mobbed. I got my Eagles Super Bowl hat that I've worn on the show. All right. I got the Super Bowl hat. I love it. I got the conference champion hat and I got the Mitchell and Ness Super Bowl jacket. All right. I love that stuff. So, they're not really knockoffs. No, they're authentic. Josh B, I had someone from the NFL shop scan the tags on those. Those are official jerseys that I give away. Some of them are, the black and Kelly green one they don't give that away. That's not a real jersey in terms of they don't wear it. So, no, they're not. They're really nice, Josh B. They're really nice. STP says, love you, Big Z. What do you think about the offseason? Who should we keep? Who can we afford to replace? Oh, and I need a jersey. Go Birds. STP, you're a member? So, no, wait, you're not a member. You're not winning shit either. Not from me. All right? You might have to go into the NFL shop and buy something. But offseason needs, I want Zach Bond. I've been clear about that, why I want Zach Bond. I want Zach Bond because I look at the defensive line. I know you're going to need another edge rusher. I understand that's going to be a hole, but you do have building blocks there. You got Nolan Smith. You got Jalen Carter. Jordan Davis is still under contract. Moro Ujomo was a guy who showed some promise this year. I think there's pieces there. I know there's pieces there. Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith are building block pieces. Those are cornerstone pieces. You go to the secondary. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's under contract. He'll be back. Reed Blankenship's under contract. He'll be back. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are rookies. They'll be back. Keely Ringo is going to be back. The only guy in the secondary is Darius Slay, and you might be moving on from him anyway. So the only level of the defense that's uncertain right now or that has no continuity right now is the linebackers. So I want Bond. Then you look at the offseason checklist. I think you want to get offensive linemen in the draft. For me, this is a trench draft, everybody. This is a big trench draft. So it's going to be a little boring. I know everybody loves getting the splash guys and the superstars and the skill position guys. We need to keep building that offense. Why did we dominate the Chiefs? One word answer. Why did we dominate the Chiefs? The trenches. Don't get away from that now. Get back to the trenches. Draft offensive linemen, draft defensive linemen, and go from there. Maybe go late round. I'd like to go running back. Grab a running back. All right. Williams says defense. That's an acceptable answer. That's why I want Bond back. But if you're talking about the draft, Lane Johnson, how many years does he have left? Mekhi Becton, is he going to return? I want more trenches. I want more offensive linemen. I want more defensive linemen. All right? That's what I believe makes the Philadelphia Eagles consistently a top organization. So I'd like to see a trench draft, and I'd like to see Zach Bond back. Zach Bond is who I want. Zach Bond is who I want the most. No wide receivers. Emily, they're not going to go wide receiver. I don't anticipate that'll be a thing. So we'll see what they end up doing, but that's what I want for the year. We're sitting pretty good on cap. One guy was in here. I think it's Brandon Howard. He's changed his name, and he keeps arguing with me. He said something in the chat. He's like, "You're stupid. You don't know the cap." I'm like, Brandon, going on fucking Spot Track doesn't make you a fucking cap wizard, my dude. I mean, how many years in a row have I heard that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be in cap hell? I'm so done with that bullshit. Everybody thinks they know everything. Everybody thinks they fucking know everything. Sit down and shut up, all right? The Eagles are in a good spot cap-wise. The NFL puts out this bullshit article about the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, they have bills to pay. Jerry Jones, the worst fucking GM in the NFL, tells that, goes on a press conference. The Eagles have bills to pay coming soon. The Eagles have bills to pay coming soon. No, they don't. It's all bullshit. How he structures contracts, puts void years on the back to soften the cap hit, and pays big money up front. Credit to Jeffrey Lurie. Okay? When you get to the end of the contract, he doesn't just sit there and go, "Oh shit, now our bills are due." No, he restructures them. He gives. Look at what he did last year. With Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce. Both of those guys had huge dead cap hits after they retired. How he moved the contract around, front-loaded a lot of it, and then gave him a one-year deal at the end to eat up some of the dead cap hits. Guys, how he knows what he's doing. More than me, more than any of you, more than any other GM in the NFL. Okay? You can't sign everybody. But to sit here and say, "Oh, the Eagles are about to be in cap hell." I've been hearing that for 10 years. I heard that after the Wentz trade. I heard that after we signed Wentz. I heard that after we signed A.J. Brown to the $100 million deal. He's already since gotten a contract extension and a pay raise. I hear it all. I'm done fucking hearing it, especially from people who aren't in the know. All due respect to everybody. But please, miss me with that bullshit. I'm done hearing it. I don't want to hear it anymore. Okay? Goodbye. Okay? I don't want to hear it anymore. Howie knows what the hell he's doing. Keith, there's not another GM in the league that could have moved on from Wentz the way that Howie did, recoup what he recouped, get off the contract the way he did, and then, to top it all off, have another max contract quarterback within 2 years. 2 years after you moved on from Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts was a max contract quarterback. Okay? That should tell you all you need to know. You know what Jalen Hurts' cap hit is in 2025? $21 million. $21 million. And people are like, "Oh, the bill's going to come due." And when the bill comes due, he'll convert the end money to a signing bonus. He'll pay him out up front again. He'll put more void years on the back of the contract, and his cap hit will remain low. Like, guys, Howie's running circles around everybody in the NFL. Howie's running circles around people who make millions of dollars to be GMs in the NFL. And we have people right here in the JAKIB chat who tell me all the time that the Eagles are fucked. The Eagles have bills coming due. The Eagles are in cap hell. Please, shut up. I don't want to hear it anymore. All right? If we start to shed great players and get rid of people and great players, all right, then maybe we can have this conversation. I agree, Dirty Air. I think that's coming as well. Dirty Air, if it's not this year, it'll be next year because the cap hit is so reasonable right now. I don't know. The cap hit's still so low. The cap jumps a little bit in the future. So I could see it being next year, but I wouldn't surprise me at all. The other guy I think who could have a contract rework this summer is Saquon Barkley. Howie does, the one thing I appreciate about Howie is he's learned how to make this, because this is a people business too, and there's players, and you're doing a job as a GM, and sometimes you have to make tough cuts, but there's also a way to improve your perception around the league, right? Nobody wanted to go and play for Belichick because he knew he would get rid of you at any moment. You wouldn't get paid the money. You'd be sent out to pasture. People like coming to Philly because they get taken care of. So Saquon Barkley comes here and has one of the best seasons in running back history. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman agree. Let's pay him a bunch of money. It'll improve again our perception around the league that we take care of the people who take care of us and who perform in this city. They'll give him a boatload of money up front. They'll probably put more void years on. They'll give him another year of guaranteed contract money because he only has 2 years of guaranteed. So he only got 1 year left. Okay? I wouldn't surprise me if they did that. Wouldn't surprise me if they did that. Johnny Vegas checks in. Big Z, take your ass to bed. I go to sleep, you're working. I wake up, you're working. I'm not doing enough. Cheers, gent. I appreciate you, man. I'm good, though. I'm good, Johnny. I always say I'll sleep when I'm dead, bro. I feel good. I really do. I feel good. I feel good. All right? I feel good. A lot of work. Look, we're already working on a bunch of off-season stuff. I already had a meeting, an off-season meeting. Me and Krause met up, all right? All right? We're already talking about how do we improve this network? How do we make it more valuable to be a member? All right? I set a goal the other day on the show. I want 1,000 members. That's my goal. We have 400 or so right now. About 40 of them are gifted. How do I get 1,000 members? I'm already looking at how do I improve this channel? How do I get more great content that people want? How do I get access to different looks, to different players, to different things? All right. I'm already in off-season mode where I'm working on the business, not so much in the business. In the business too, but on the business is very important to improve your company. All right. So yeah, new merch. Still working on that. All right. So I have a lot of ideas, a lot of things that, I have a big whiteboard. All right. There's many things that when you're in the middle of a Super Bowl run, you have ideas, but you can't implement them until you have more time and more freedom and more, less busy. So I'm working on things. All right. I got a lot of things. More gifted memberships to get us in the door. Arthur, man, I appreciate you just being here. I really do. But the members are getting top priority, Arthur. Come on, Arthur. Come on. I know you love it here, Arthur. I know you shit on McMullen and Cilio. I know you love it here, Arthur. All right. A lot of great stuff planned, and it's all thanks to you guys. Flexing and stepping. Me and Howie are friends again, Z. Yeah. I like Howie. I like Howie Flex. I like him. He's done a really good job, man. He's done a really good job. I respect a guy that can learn from his mistakes. It takes death of the ego to be able to objectively analyze where you went wrong and improve on it. All right. And I've been trying to learn from that as well and do that myself. I keep telling you guys one of my favorite quotes from Jalen Hurts. He said it in the locker room one time. When you look yourself in the mirror as a man and you focus on the things you can control, that's how you get better. That's how you get better. And I love that quote. It's my all-time favorite. It's my all-time favorite. All right. I love it because I think it's so valuable. A lot of people say, oh, we got to get to this many subscribers. And I was saying, yeah, it's great. It would be great, but I can't focus on that. I can't hit the subscribe button 50,000 times. How do I make this company better? How do I make the channel better? How can I focus on what I can control to make it a place that more people will want to come and subscribe to? That's how I analyze it, right? Instead of how do I get to 100,000 subscribers? The process. Jalen Hurts, baby. Yeah, Philly Don, they got us on ice right now. Yeah, Bob Lang doesn't like us because of Cilio. So Cilio is obviously, he wasn't kind to the team. He doesn't glaze the team a lot, and Bob Lang isn't a fan of that. So he's kind of put us on ice. He doesn't. I want to reach out to him. I'd like to reach out to him and say, dude, I've kind of been we got a big channel. We have a big viewership, passionate Eagle fan base. I think I've supported your team pretty damn good this season. I've supported them my whole life. I'd appreciate it if we could have a working relationship, but I don't know. We'll see, man. I get it. I understand it, but we'll see where it goes. The business is going up, all right? I got to keep building upward. So I'm not going to let anything get in the way of that, all right? I'm not going to let anything get in the way of that. I appreciate all you guys. Great little Zander time. I know we don't have any giveaways. I apologize for that. I apologize for that. I will have more giveaways. We'll be doing more giveaways next week. All right. Once I get out of once the budget and stuff closes, all right, and I can turn the page on the last month, I'll be giving away more JAKIB merch as well. Obviously, I exhausted my budget resources on that last month. We gave away a lot of JAKIB merch, so I appreciate all who won and all who are a member here on JAKIB Sports. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you all. I'll keep you posted on tomorrow's parade. There's a chance I'm down there sitting at a desk on top of a flatbed truck doing a show in the city of brotherly love. It's possible that happens. I have a meeting with City Hall today, so I'm going to be going down to the city today. All right, so hopefully I could do that. It'd be pretty fun. It'd be pretty wild. I'm not going to lie to you. That gives me a little bit of nerves, being up on a fucking flatbed truck in the middle of Philly in the parade. Holy shit. It's one thing to do. It's one thing to have attention here when I sit in my studio. It's a whole nother beast to be out in the open like that, but we'll see how it all works out. All right, I'm hoping the city gives us the approval. I will have the Starlink. Dirty Air. What I'm actually working on is I'm working on direct Ethernet port right from City Hall. So inside the main City Hall building. You got to have connections, Dirty Air. Connections take you far in life, as you know. Your merch. I assume you're talking about your merch. Mine came yesterday while I was in NOLA. Love it, man. I appreciate it. Now, listen, if I don't see you again, if I don't talk to you again, if I don't hear from you again, and if I don't see you down at the parade, you don't have to take my advice, okay? You're all your own people. You can do whatever you want. Be respectful of the people. That's my request. Again, you don't have to abide by what I say. You can do whatever you want. You're all grown adults. I don't like people telling me what to do, so I understand. Be respectful of the people around you. Be respectful of the team's championship parade. Try not to be a jackass. Please, if you're down there and you're going to the parade, all right? There are people who are out there who don't want to be out there. There are people who work on the city who are setting up stuff all week long, all right? There are people who are working in the cold to make the parade possible for us. All right, let's try and be respectful of those people. There are cops out there who are, risking their safety to try and make sure we all have a fun day. So just be respectful. That's the only thing again, you don't have to listen to me. I understand. You might be like, F you, I'll do what I want. That's fine. I get it. That's my request though. Listen to it or don't. It's up to you. I appreciate you all. Thank you all so much. I hope I'll see some of you guys tomorrow. What I might end up doing is a special live tonight once I learn what I'm doing at the parade. And then we'll talk about it a little bit. So maybe I'll be live on the channel tonight. So lock in on that. Appreciate you, Chris. Appreciate you, Jeff. Appreciate you, William. Twiz, I love you, brother. Appreciate you. Flexen, I love you, man. Appreciate it. Ryan, you member down. You're on my shit list for the day. That's all right. Luke's dad, what's up, brother? I appreciate you. Dio, saw your pics of the Super Bowl, man. It looked awesome. Real Zeal, appreciate you being here as always. Suplex City, my guy. What's up, Suplex? Good to see you in here. Appreciate you. James Jones, our resident Commander fan. Love you, brother. Appreciate you for being here. Keith Junio, another guy who got his jersey and membered down. Keith, you're on my shit list, but I love you, brother. I can love you and you can still be on my shit list. Dank Bird Gang, thank you for everything. Dirty Air, thank you for everything. I appreciate all you guys. Anybody I missed, I didn't mean to miss you. All right. Anybody I missed, I didn't mean to miss you. I love you all. See you all. Thank you so much for all the great support and congrats to the entire fan base and this team. World champions. We'll be saying that all summer long. Thank you so much, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.